Can you hear us?
Hello?
The EMUSB.
Hello?
Can you hear? Are we
Lydia.
here? Are we good?
Lydia,
Did
can
we
you
do
hear
it?
us?
Hello?
I think I did it.
Hello?
Lydia? So far, I don't think so. She hasn't done anything.
No. She. Well, ooh, aha. We're good.
Hey!
Nice. We also don't
Good
have
work,
names.
guys.
I knew that something was up when the audio
okay.
wasn't popping up on the screen. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Except I do know because it happens literally every time because the wonderful Streamlabs OBS, which we love and we care for, continually deletes my scenes. So I have to fix it every single time. Anyway, hi, I'm Aaron. I'm partially blind. I'm joined by the illustrious DM of the main campaign, DJ McKellips, and the
How's it
less than
going?
stellar Grant DeFore.
Heyo. Glad to be here.
We're pumped.
I
we're
think you're
jazzed.
stellar, Grant.
We're ready to rock.
Thanks, DJ.
I honestly, you know what we should do, Grant? We
What?
should publish screenshots of our text conversations and see how many people think that
Publish.
we're gay.
That's a hot take. You know, I guess there's probably a lot of assumptions already. So I don't know if we need any added material.
I would have to do the same thing with Ryan.
Oof. But yeah, we're here. We're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. That's what we're doing today. Having a good time. I'll start it off as we always do. Thoughts on the last episode between the both of you, changes to characters, the things that you want to pursue, anything like that, for a brief summary of what happened for those watching. I single-handedly killed the Dracolich. We proceeded to find a bunch of stuff in a library and take a nap after solving a puzzle with the wrong answer, and I will stand by this. And then we ended up in a
It's funny
chamber
because you
that
can
we
go
can't
back.
breathe, and that's where we left off. God, I'm so upset. I'm not actually upset, and it was a really good puzzle,
'cause you
and
can
I really
go back.
appreciate it. But it makes me so sad that it wasn't correct.
Well, it's really funny because you can go back and you can watch me. You say you're like, guys, I figured it out. It's a stump, and you can watch me go through each one of the things, each one of the clues, and be like, that actually fits. Dang it! How do I get them to know that this isn't the answer? Oh no!
It fit so well.
It was so good. For those of you who don't remember or weren't there, it was what I have been cut, but I do not bleed. I have died, yet I still remain, and I have a ring, but I am not married.
But I've never been married.
So I was like, it's a tree stump because it's a dead tree, but the stump is still there. It's been cut down, but tears don't it has no tears, and it has rings because it's a tree stump. I was so pumped because it was we hadn't even gotten into the problem, and I was like, I'm on it.
I think, and it happened quite quickly too.
Oh,
the little glitch ghost or whatever was like, "Hey, this is the thing," and Aaron just immediately
and you were just like,
"I got it."
Literally, DJ was like, "Roll a d10." I was like, "Okay, I will," but I also know the answer to the riddle. I would like to solve the puzzle.
I am upset. This was a learning opportunity for me as a DM. I am upset. Never give your players 10 rounds. 10 rounds is way too much time.
I don't know, man.
5 at max.
10 rounds is definitely pretty long, but could you imagine if I would have rolled like a 1?
Yeah.
How bad that would have been.
I had a modifier. It was 1d10 plus 4. So the minimum that you could have was 5. But then anything above 5, I was just going to leave it as whatever the roll was. So if it was 6, it'd be 6, 7, so on and so forth. But I should have done a d8 or something like that, or maybe I don't know, maybe a d6.
Well, you forget that Aaron's superpower is d10s. So
that's true. I did forget that. I also, in my defense, there was 4 or 5 things that you guys had to figure out before you'd be able to actually do the thing. You'd have to figure out the riddle, so you know what you were doing. You then have to figure out what the actual wands do and how that ties in with the riddle.
And then
find all the pieces. You then have to put them together, and you have to do this all while there's these zombies that are trying to kill you. But
so my advice
when you
for
do
you,
it all
DJ,
at once,
is don't leave it up to chance. On this one, I just would have said you have, or like, I would have said you think that you have like probably around 5 to 6 rounds.
Yeah.
And then just because like,
yeah,
random chance is gonna screw you every time, guaranteed. As someone
every
who's been
time
screwed by random chance every day of their life, you like you just learn.
Very fair.
Yeah, thoughts on the episode. I loved it. I thought the episode was great, even if you take out the like fact that I killed a Dracolich by myself. Like even if you take that out, I think the episode was still really good.
Dog, I'm so excited for next episode when you get to explain how significant that is.
I have some questions for you. Because for those of you wondering, Tarak has yet to explain why he wanted to fight the Dracolich by himself. But I had been messaging DJ beforehand. Literally like the day of, maybe the night before, if I don't remember the exact time.
Yeah, I think you texted me the day before, and I was like, okay, we need to get on a call to talk about this. So we got on a call an hour before the stream was supposed to happen to explain everything.
Because I had been mentioning to you since the week before. I was like, yo, I need to send you a text, and I just never did.
Yeah.
But I am wondering if there will be any like showing up of, not necessarily like appearance, but any effects from the Orcish Pantheon. Because I mentioned that there was the potential of them like a reward or a boon or some form of insight or something along those lines. But I left it up to you because it was like most of the time the orcs don't survive the one-on-one combat with the dragon.
Yeah.
So it's not like Tarak's ever seen it happen.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because you as Aaron, you obviously know that the Orcish Pantheon is dead. It is legitimately dead.
Is it?
It is. You know this. Tarak doesn't know this, and the orcs don't know this. But the Orcish Pantheon is legitimately dead. But there are traces of them that have been left behind that can still interact a little bit. So it's very interesting. So I don't know is the answer. That will be something that I need to figure out this week, because I want there to be something that happens. But will it be specifically from the Pantheon? I don't know if that's the case, but something will happen.
Bro,
I can tell you that much.
I'm just also, you know what this means?
What?
Does killing a dragon, even if it's undead, give Tarak the right to own the Orb of the Dragon King?
That's a great point.
Technically, if you look into like draconic bureaucracy, Dracoliches are no longer considered dragons.
Oh, bugger off.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. Well, now I have to kill a real dragon.
I mean, Melora already did it, so she might as well
but
just
that was
take the crown now.
teamwork. That doesn't count.
Yeah, Melora can't really claim that place of Dragon Queen anymore.
Tarak did a whole like 8 damage to the dragon. That matters.
True. That's true.
So yeah, it was a team effort.
I have a question for Aaron.
What?
Well, first of all, I thought it was really cool how Tarak was singing and he literally grabbed the blade and beat the dragon senseless with the hilt of the sword.
So that's an actual fighting style.
It's gotta be. It's so cool.
That's not even a
like
joke.
Real world lore.
Yeah, real world. Like so.
That is so hardcore.
The amount of like crazy, like sword fighting style. Like there's I think it's called like haft grip or something, where in order to give more power to a thrust, you grab the middle of the blade and the hilt, and like ram it forward like a spear. You can like there's it has never been used, but there is. I mean, it's just probably been used, but there is even a like medieval fighting guide that includes unscrewing the little hilt and throwing it.
Epic.
But yeah, there was.
Well, also, I'd imagine that they had I'd imagine that they had special gloves.
Oh yeah,
like
they had
for sure.
gauntlets.
And Tarak didn't. Oh, he
I mean,
does
he
have
does,
gauntlets.
but I think it's
I
cooler if his
pictured
hand was
like
bleeding.
his bare hands just like grabbing into this blade. It's awesome.
They're basically. I like to imagine the gauntlets have turned into basically the medieval equivalent of fingerless gloves, except it's palmless gloves. So they just cover the top parts of his hands, so it still leaves his fingers open to the
Okay,
elements.
yeah, it's a both and. I love it. But my question was, you don't have to tell me if it's like secret, but it messes with my head because Tarak said nobody helped me, and then he basically said, nah, Edward, if you want to, I guess you can.
Oh, there's
and,
a reason.
I know there's a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and Edward did. He worked very hard trying to help out. Didn't really succeed,
But he
but
tried.
he tried his
He
darndest.
tried.
Yeah, he really did. And there's some profound reasons behind why, but that's not what I'm talking about now. I want to know why Tarak let Edward do his thing and didn't want the others to help.
So I can't tell you all of it because I want that to be a question that Edward asks like in game.
Oh, okay.
Because like there is
He was going to
so
anyways.
a lot of this fight was me creating reasons for Tarak to talk to other people and other people to talk to Tarak. So like as a meta reason, that's one of the reasons why I was like to do this. Plus, if you had 2 paladins down there and a cleric, this fight would have been over way faster.
Undead is a challenging creature type for you guys. Truly, it's the way to
how will we
destroy you.
ever defeat the thing that we gain in extra, like just tons of bonuses of damage
Well,
to?
the thing, no. The thing that I think made this particular fight the most challenging is the fact that the dragon had poison abilities.
Yes. Oh man,
That
poison.
it
my
really
gosh.
brought me to the
Ooh.
brink as Tarak. that poison damage.
My favorite. I also loved when Tarak, like, it gets to his turn and he just takes a huge breath in through his nose of poison gas, and then he just goes in. It's
I want some
Oh,
fan
it's
art
so
of
cool.
Well,
Tarak
you
walking
officially-
through plumes of gas.
You accomplished one of my bucket list moments as Tarak, which was like anytime that you have an immunity to a damage type, the coolest thing to do is just to have someone like rip into you with that damage type and then just stand there and be like, what, come at me, bud. Like it's
Yeah.
the same feeling as like if you have an immunity to fire, why wouldn't you walk through lava?
Yeah.
Like even just because it's there. And so like one of my bucket list things this track was like, I want to be like enveloped in poison in some form of way, and then just be like everyone is just very disturbed because I'm just like, what's up, punk? You want to go straight up? It's like brunch. Like,
Do you have a character bucket list, like, in your
I
head
mean, I
of
have
things
some
you want
specific
to do?
things that would be like, oh man, this would be really cool to do.
That's a
Dying is
really
one of
cool
them.
idea. Oh, sure.
Dying
That's-
is one of them. Heck you.
That's a really cool
Working on
idea. Yeah.
But yeah, the reason. So basically, the reason Track fought the Dracolich, is an orcish tradition kind of thing, as is very Track. And it's supposed to be fought 1-on-1, but there is a clause. It's basically like the fine print of it allows a certain exception to the rule, which Tarak classifies himself as regardless of Edward's ideals, which allowed Edward to participate in the fight if he was willing. Which I think, so a lot of this fight was directed at, like, I did a lot of things in it to kind of make Edward have things to interact with Tarak about. Like, singing is, like, Edward's thing.
Right,
And
yeah.
so I really wanted, like, a song from Tarak to kind of give them something a little bit more that they can, like, relate to each other on. I just realized that I don't have any of the names up on the stream. I'm going to do that in the meantime, I'll keep talking as I go. Dang.
Well, I
Yes.
actually, while you do that, I have a thing to say.
Yeah.
So, the whole scene of Tarak fighting the Dracolich alone, and Edward being the only one who can help him based on Tarak's terms, was pretty darn unique. First of all, like, when does that ever happen? And second of all, it created a really interesting opportunity for Edward, because Edward is at the point where he clearly has some trust in Tarak's words when it comes to like fighting and battle and all that stuff, because they've literally been training together. And if Edward didn't actually think that Tarak had anything to offer, he wouldn't listen in the first place. So for this time, I think for Edward it was a time where he was challenged in the way where he had the chance to kind of prove to Tarak that he would go the extra mile to help. Now, he kind of blew it. Like, he really didn't help. But the intention was there. And there was a very particular moment where Edward ran out of ideas, Grant ran out of ideas, and there was nothing else to do. And he held an action and basically said to Tarak, tell me whatever you want me to do, I will do, even if it's getting poisoned, which I was not planning on Edward doing, by the way, because he's not about that. And so I think it showed, like, first of all, Edward was kind of panicking because he was like, uh-oh, Tarak versus dragon? This is bad. Second of all, he wanted to actually help in some way. He didn't know how, and he has finally trusted Tarak in this situation enough where he would probably do whatever Tarak would say. And that's like something that I don't think Edward has ever had the chance to do in the past. And so even though I don't think it had a very cognitively a very cognitive impact on Edward, like, it was a big opportunity for him as a character, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I hope Tarak noticed.
Oh, Tarak notices everything. Tarak is omnipotent, practically.
I very much enjoyed the fact that everybody else was just like, okay, we get bit. All right, now we can help. And then there was Edward, who was like, I'm going to try everything I can to not get poisoned, and then I'll go help. And fair, everything just failed.
I think that if Edward would have gotten bit, he would have fallen unconscious.
I also want to point out, like, I feel like Edward's typically the rational one. Like, they walk into this strange entrance to a horde, and there are these vampire-looking statues that inject literal poison into your body. And the Great talks about how you have to die to enter the thing. That, to Edward, that's a lot of red flags. So Edward's like, getting bit by this, like, vampire poison statue.
That is the play.
I don't know if that's where we need to go, guys. Like, maybe there's another way to go about this. And everybody else is just like, oh, getting bit by a vampire thing that injects poison into me? Sure. Like,
I mean, I do appreciate your devotion to your character's thought process.
So that has always been one of my favorite things about Edward, because it's literally like, Edward is legitimately just a normal guy. Mm-hmm. Like the rest of us are like Dungeons and Dragons characters and adventurers and like basically superheroes. And then there's Edward, and it's just like, guys, that's not a normal thing. And we're like, you're not used to not normal things by now? And he's like, I don't think that it matters whether or not I'm used to it. The fact is, this is like not a thing.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
You don't do that. That's like not a normal, that's not normal. And it's like, bro, we're not normal. He's like, I am. I'm a normal, my name is Edward. I am a normal person. And I just love it because like that's totally like, you're basically Sam in like your Lord of the Rings Sam.
When you said Sam, my brain thought of the like 10 different NPCs that are named Sam in this campaign. Now, I know that there aren't 10.
There's only 2.
I know.
But the very like Frodo, like they're all on that journey, and everyone's like,
he said never leave his side, Sam Gamgee, or whatever it is.
He's like, we need to go through the door, and Sam is like, Frodo, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said. What?
Well, and this is my Lord of the Rings tangent. First of all, Sam is the main character.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, for sure. Sam, without Sam, it would not have happened.
No.
And second of all, I saw this thing the other day, or Ryan showed me this thing the other day, and it was alternative ways to say bye to people instead of just being like bye bye or have a good day, whatever. And one of them was Frodo's a coward, and then you'd be like, "Yep, Frodo's a coward," and that upset me because I don't think Frodo's a coward. I don't think he's the main character.
No, he's a
But I don't
normal
think he's
guy.
a coward.
No. I don't think he's a coward at all.
Sam is like the opposite of. Sam is like courageous because for all the rest of these,
Sam is a bro through and
for all
through.
the rest of the people in Lord of the Rings, they're crazy people. Like they're like they are warriors, but like no normal person is going to choose to make those decisions. Where it's like, well, the only way through is through this goblin-infested haunted cave that is most likely going to collapse and kill us all. I mean, we could go the long way, but it would take too long.
That sounds familiar.
No, you're going to take the long way because it doesn't matter if you die on the way there. It takes even longer. It takes forever.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Something about taking the long way or going past this trench.
I know, but that's the hero decision, right? The hero decision is the fastest by any means. We can survive the odds. Mm-hmm. Normal people don't make that decision. When Frodo is like, Sam, the only way through is to go through the gates of Mordor. We have to go right as it closes. And Sam's like, No, we don't. That's the dumbest thing. Frodo, that's a whole army.
That's a whole army. You are trying to get us killed.
We are 3 feet tall, and we don't even know how to run down a gravelly slope. We're going to die.
Facts. Speaking of bad, gutsy decisions, I feel like probably the worst one the party has made is going to the trench, like just parking the boat and swimming down.
Oh, it was so dumb.
That was the worst. Like the thought process, it didn't make any sense. It's like, yes, a trench full of abominations, and there are bones like 1,000 feet down. Let's just swim into it and see what happens. It's like
adventures, man.
So
adventures.
Bad. I thought it was great how it worked out because it was fun, right? It's the fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question about this because this is something that I have been struggling with. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
How do you guys feel the quote unquote second arc has been going?
We've been in an arc?
Exactly.
Now I have words on this too. I think so there are multiple different pieces that are kind of in motion behind the scenes in a way. Like there's the pirate government, there's the undead army that's somewhat going to Athala. There's the updates on Athala. There's a number of things. There's also like the pirate crew. Now we've met an NPC. We're going to a horde. So everything seems connected. Like there seems to be a purpose behind pretty much everything that's there. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely like spaghetti, where it's like there's a thing, and then there's a thing, and then there's a thing. Mm-hmm. And the good part about this, although it feels a little bit wobbly, the good part about all this is I think there can be some really interesting ways that all of it will end up weaving together for like either a big event or a number of things that happen that we would have never anticipated these things being related in such a way. So I'm excited to see what you do out of this spaghetti. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that it seems to me about the arc is that we don't actually have any like any motivating presence to do it, because like with the whole undead thing, right? We don't even know if it's happening. Like we've seen some people like trawling up like people have been like, oh yeah, no, there are some boats there. Mm-hmm. But it isn't like we got a call from Kiamora that's like, yo, we've got like 30 undead hordes spotted like crossing the ocean towards us. What the crap is going on? Mm-hmm. Like, so basically we're just operating on a question where it's like, we don't know if there are undead. We don't know if there are undead, if they're being sent to Athala. We don't know if this Dead King's horde really exists. Of course we know, because you wouldn't give us a quest that didn't exist, because as players we know that it's a thing. Now the whole end of the whole like rod of that like raises the dead or something, that may not exist. I don't know. But it's just the vagueness comes from we haven't any definite proof that this is a thing. Like the biggest definite proof of something happening that we know of is like back with Kiamora at Athala, where it's like we know stuff is happening over there, but we have seen no evidence of things happening where we are. And that's probably what I think the biggest thing for me is.
Yeah, I feel like I have done a poor job of, how do I explain this? I feel like I've done a good job of making sure that you guys know that there are things going on outside of where you guys are, but I haven't done a great job of making it clear that there are things also going on where you guys are as well. So I'm assuming it feels like you guys are out of place.
Well, because it's like we're looking at it through like a foggy mirror, where it's like we're pretty sure there's things going on here. There's a lot of clues that point to it. Like obviously we're doing stuff, so there's things going on here. But it's like there's things going on in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And we don't know for sure, but we do know for sure over there.
It's almost like,
and that's
to compare it to the it's to compare it to the fishing analogy that we have used so many times, Aaron.
Oh, I love the fishing analogy.
I have cast too many lines.
Yeah. It's that you've cast too many lines all like around the pond, and then one line with like it's just a hook. Like it isn't like particularly baited. And so we're looking at it, we're like, well, I there is kind of bait on it. But like there's a whole gosh dang worm over there.
Yeah.
And it's like tasty looking.
And it's like, why are we here? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I could be over in the other part of the pond. And I don't think it's a bad thing. No. It could be very well ended as well. I think that you have a lot of room to like work with it and punch it into something that like really is like really solid.
Yes, absolutely.
I'd say
I find myself at a very unique, I don't know if it's unique, it's just an interesting scenario, because Edward, as you know, has literally lost pretty much everything, and this probably isn't new to some of the other party members. Like, yeah, party members have lost like everything before, I think. Yeah, but Edward, this has all recently happened. Like, his whole identity was kind of wrapped up in Athala and his family and what he was going to do, even within the political system / like commerce system of Athala. And now that has all kind of disappeared from view for him, like that's no longer an option. Now Edward, his really only motivation involves one, like his potential in other places, or with quote unquote new Athala, wherever the Athalans are, and the hopes that Athala can maybe be preserved. And then the other thing is he sees the only way of possibly doing anything or like finding a spot would be by following the group, like being with this group, because he knows this group will like actually be able to protect him. He also knows that this group is capable of a lot. So if he actually wants to make a difference, he'll probably stick around for a bit. But regarding the events surrounding Lasania, is that how you say it? Yeah.
Yep.
The islands and the Dead King's Horde and everything, Maxius pretty much like gave them a commission of sorts to be like, hey, check this out for me and let me know what's up. So for Edward, if I were to consider what Edward would do and why and what he would want to do, it would be to aptly report to Maxius about the Dead Horde. So Edward being in this place, and I think the others can tell too, that like, yes, this Dead King's Horde has something to do with resuscitating the dead. And although we might be misinformed on that, we're also considering like literally a undead army. And so in Edward's mind, I think he's perceiving this as a means of trying to figure out and stop the undead army. However, Edward also feels like he is maybe the one of the ones that cares about this particular like quote unquote mission the most, because I feel like with the pirate government and all that stuff, some of the alignments of the other members of the group would be more likely to actually act on that. Like, and Edward would care about it, but there's like more pressing things. So Edward still doesn't quite feel like he like fits particularly with the group, he still kind of feels like he has his own personal direction that's apart from the others in the group, but he sees the group as the only means of fulfilling that direction. So I feel like there's quite a bit of motive behind what's happening in this place with all these different ties. Like there's reasons behind it. It feels like there's reasons behind it. uh it's just the question of like how the other party members perceive it and what the ultimate goal is, because Edward's goal of things surrounding Athala is probably a whole lot different than, let's say, Cather's goal as of now. And so it's an interesting mesh of different motives right now.
Because yeah, I would definitely like. I mean, especially now that Cather revealed his like dream to the party. Track's his thoughts are elsewhere. Like his thoughts are currently residing with, like, oh, this is actually an excellent time to ask DJ. Is it the Crimson Wastes, the Scarlet Wastes, the Red Wastes? What is it?
All of the above.
Okay, it is insert synonym for Red Wastes.
I think specifically
because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've called it the Crimson Wastes, but Lydia asked me yesterday, and I was like, I don't know.
I've noticed Aaron will say Crimson, and some others will too, like us.
DJ,
and then some NPCs
sometimes
will say Scarlet. I would imagine it's both.
Because I think I've also called it the Red Wastes before.
Sure, it's like not like a nation, or it doesn't have any political authority, right? It's just like a
desert
spot.
That is red.
So maybe, yeah, I'm sure people probably have different.
I explained to Lydia the other day why it was red, and she was so upset. She's like, "That's so disgusting."
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I know why.
The orcs.
That's it.
You were there. You were on that call.
Oh.
Was I on that call?
You know, I get sleepy. I space out. Things happen.
Classic Grant. Hey guys, you can add this to the compilation of DJ flipping through the books. I love how much you like kind of hate it, but I know that deep down you really like it. The DJ flips through his books compilation.
Oh.
One day, like 2 years from now, we're gonna have to actually make it. Like all this talk, we can't let him down.
Oh yeah. We'll have to hire somebody.
Yeah, no.
Outsource it.
Orcs are great. Gotta love them. I am really excited for the conversation with like the party / Edward about why he fought the Dracolich.
I'm so pumped for that. Like, dude, exploring Tarak's like belief sets. Oh, I can't wait to hear like what he thinks. Because I feel like Tarak's religion hasn't been explored hardly at all.
No.
Scarlet.
It's Scarlet. Okay.
I think it's technically the Scarlet Wastes.
I will try to remember that because I just always call it the
Crimson's kind of cool too. Do I like Crimson better?
Crimson sounds
more of a term
epic.
For blood.
I feel
could it be possible that the orcs call it something different than the rest of the world?
So what I would say is, so there's been kind of a like forgetting of what happened in like with the orcs and stuff, right? Like no one really knows about it unless they're like educated or have been taught. So I feel like it was it's kind of like changing the name so that way it's a little less violent for the kids. So they're like, no, it's the Scarlet Wastes.
Like it used to be the Crimson Wastes,
but now the orcs still call it the Crimson Wastes.
It's not as bad.
Because
I like that.
It has more like relation to blood. I think that fits well.
Boom. Here you go. Here at Table Scraps, we do world building, DM tips, all that type of stuff. This is an example of world building right here.
This is we are a multifaceted stream.
Mm-hmm.
That is, we are diversifying the portfolio.
I'm just a cheerleader. They do their thing, and you know, I make puns.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I was actually talking about this with, I think, Lydia yesterday. I have been really enjoying how Edward has been acting in the past like 2 episodes.
Really?
First kind of
what
started
about
off as the fact that I had only had 1 hour of sleep 2 episodes ago. Okay. And so I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm barely awake. So I was just absolutely goofy. But I have been.
You were goofy. Oh, it was so
man,
fun.
2
I
episodes ago,
remember.
I was
You were.
wild.
That
I was
was
out
the
there.
most wiggly I've ever seen you be.
Dog, I was so tired. But I was like, I can turn this into a story reason, so I did. A track has always kind of been the person to de-strain a conversation, where like it'll be like a really tense, like, I fear I may have to kill them, and then like track will like work through the conversation, and then at the very end he will like break the tension by like
I've noticed.
like,
You're very
by the
good
way,
at
have
that.
you seen that like this thing over here? That's crazy. That's wild.
Sand rats.
Like
They're the
sand rats,
worst.
am I right? And,
Cheese. What is it?
like what really is cheese, really? And I think that track, the story reason I'm going for it right now is track is kind of doing that 24/7 right now, because like the whole party is super tense, like especially between like Renaya and Cather. And track is aware of it. Track's not an idiot. But I think the term that Lydia used for it is track is more himbo than he has been in the past. And I kind of love it. And it's like when you see the perhaps the greatest gosh dang thing that I've said in months, with the like Edward wakes up, he's like, oh, my back is killing me from like sleeping on the couch, and then Jack's just like, my back is killing me from carrying the team.
Lydia made a TikTok out of that.
It's like my favorite thing. It's what, but it's just very much track being a lot more like loose with his words, attempting to like de-strain the party and relieve some of the tension between people by like drawing attention to himself through like comedy or like making people laugh and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Nice.
One of the things I've noticed as the group as a whole is like, so I hope I'm not opening a can of worms here, because this is a long conversation.
We've
if we
got
dove in
over an hour like we've got an hour and 20 minutes. You can open a can of worms.
Okay, so like when I go back and listen to early episodes, it's so different than what it is now. And sometimes it's challenging to make it through, because it's just, we were a younger cast, like literally.
Yeah.
And also just not used to acting and all that stuff. And so like the level, the different kinds of conversations, like in the very specific mood that was set for a lot of the earlier episodes. Not saying it's bad. I'm trying to be very careful of my language here. Not that it's bad, it's just different. Like,
Yeah.
I've noticed that back during that time, we first of all, it was a lot of fun. So we were just having a lot of fun with like deep, long, like somewhat silly sometimes
20
conversations.
to 30-minute conversations
Yeah,
between two characters that the rest of us were sleeping through.
Yeah, and so that eventually, as the rock began to roll down the hill and collect moss, we were like, hey, maybe we should like, not in a controlling way, but we were like, hey, we should maybe try to find a bit more of a balance, because that makes sense. And so then I think it developed, or like continued to change in a way where it almost got to the point where we were very story based and somewhat goofy with things. I know I did that for sure.
Oh.
I began leaning into the trope of Edward being like goofy and fun, which I don't mind. I love playing that way, but it didn't feel like a true like hitting the dartboard in the center kind of thing. And I felt like the whole group was kind of going that way. And now I feel like we're beginning to reach kind of an equilibrium where I think for the most part we're learning how to say fewer words that are more profound when you need to, and then having fun as well, because there's like a balance there. Like,
Yeah.
what you were saying about Tarak, about him like alleviating the tension, like that's a whole part of that like balance of like real life, of like there are moments where it's like quite heart wrenching, and then there are moments a lot of the time where it's more like events happening and having a good time with one another. And so one thing I've noticed in a similar light with Edward is that after all of the tragic things that have happened, he's clearly grieving. I think that's not a mystery. Like, he's totally grieving. He's not in a great spot. But to kind of cope with that himself, it might not be the healthiest way, but to kind of cope with that, I think that's part of the reason why Grant has played Edward a little bit more goofy as of recent and like more animated,
Yeah.
because it's Edward's way of trying to overcome the deep dark in his heart.
You're lying to yourself that you're not actually sad by making things funny.
Exactly. And it's not a great practice, but this is something that's
it's a very
untrodden
common thing, I think.
very common, and it's untrodden territory for Edward, this whole thing. So you can tell that in, I think it was episode 47, um Edward and Renaya with their little ritual thing, super awkward, that whole thing. Edward's very sad. He refuses tea for the first time. He's just strumming a couple chords. He's not into the music. Renaya ends up, she doesn't really follow through with the ritual. It's pretty glum. Renaya ends up asking him to change up the music a bit, and so he throws in some major sevenths, which makes it a little more jazzy, adds a little bit of minor, and it makes it more interesting. And I think that I was talking to Lydia about this yesterday. We all talk to Lydia so much. I was talking to Lydia about this yesterday, and that even that little thing helped Edward kind of break out of that like mental prison of sorts of being so distracted, and he started to actually play music a bit more. And then there's a very clear like change in Edward's mood when Tarak shows up and then the rest of the party is there. Edward almost immediately starts cracking jokes about Cather. He turns into Cather and does his whole like goofy accent thing. And that's just like a testament to how Edward has been able to just flip that switch. It's really unhealthy, and it'll probably it will inevitably end up being a problem for him down the road somehow in some way. But the whole balance between serious and goofy, I feel like we're really getting into a rhythm of. And I, for one, think our episodes have improved a whole lot because of it. And I'm having more fun because of it.
So, DJ, I know that you haven't talked for a while, but I'm going to keep talking anyway.
Those of you know, while you guys are talking, I'm doing some campaign planning.
Nice. Strong play.
We're giving him ideas.
So after Monday, like after the stream, I like hung out with Drew until like 1 a.m. or something like that, because everyone else went to sleep. Me and Drew were like, well, I guess we're here, and talking about like the episode and things like that. And one of the things that I mentioned, because we like to jazz each other up a whole bunch, I was like, bro, every time that Tarak and Cather do anything together, whether or not it be fighting, a happy moment, a sad moment, an argument,
dancing,
it is all that's involved in happy moments. Mm-hmm. It is just an absolute banger episode. It's just incredible. Even if you go back to like the first real interaction that Tarak and Cather had, which was when Tarak was like, bro, you gotta calm it down with this god stuff or else you're gonna get people killed. And then Cather had the sick line, which was, it may be a blind faith, but it's not a foolish one. And one of the things that I think that we've been getting a lot better at, and is a serious problem when it comes to like good like role play, good conversation making, is knowing when a conversation is done because someone just hit a sick one-liner.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, all conversations, even if they're happy, are basically just extended rap battles. Like in Finland, right? So like,
sure,
if
you're riffing off each other,
100%,
it's a give take.
If you hear someone say something and you're like, I have got this sick line planned, and you hit them with that line, and then they don't have a sick line to follow it up with, like, or something that they're aiming for some other like cool like ending phrase, then the conversation should be done. Because like if you keep doing, all it does is lessen the impact of that statement.
Yeah, totally.
Like, could you imagine if like after Cather tried to kill that orc and Tarak like stopped and was like, I know what you're trying to do, it's okay, but like, no. We get to the pond and then Tarak, like, he apologizes to Tarak and Tarak says, I'm not upset, I was just surprised because I thought out of all the people here you'd know the pain and shame of being in chains. Could you imagine if then Cather kept talking how lame that would have been. Like if he would have just been like, I can't believe you would say that. You don't know anything about my past. Like, and it's like 20 minutes of him trying to like refute the statement. It's such a worse conversation.
And that's how things would go early on. I think this is
yeah.
a skill we're still working on.
Oh,
Being able to
100%.
say fewer words that mean more is a skill that I think influences most things,
And then
especially in the
realizing
entertainment industry.
that you aren't the only one saying words.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
other people will say things, and you need to know when they have said a thing, and you shouldn't follow up with it.
Yeah,
Like-
in a similar line of thinking, I think I know for one that I have at least worked hard at this recently. There's like, there's different kinds of role players, as you know.
Oh yeah.
The one that I fall into, or like kind of the camp that I fall into on this topic, and how I think a lot of people can actually relate to, is I enjoy being there, being involved, but when I know there are other people around me that equally want to have like interesting moments or conversations, I will typically choose to bump myself back in the line. And what I noticed happening, and I mentioned kind of a time where I was only really being goofy and I didn't feel like making much progress. Um, I found myself just consistently bumping myself back in the line and not taking the initiative to make important things happen.
Yeah.
So something that I think we've all gotten better at is just being fine with kind of just taking control for a bit and making something happen. Like I've noticed that Lydia especially has completely changed how she approaches playing, I think, since like the beginning of the campaign. Because we were all nervous, we're all shy too, but like especially recently, Lydia now has the ability to like, if she needs to have a conversation, she's fine with doing that, like making it happen. And I think that's something I'm trying to learn too. Is like it's okay for Grant to have Edward ask Renaya to do something in the morning because I have an agenda, right? A little bit of an agenda. Now it's also a give and take because with improv, as you know, if each one of us are focusing on how to provide a good moment for everybody else and everybody's thinking that way, then inevitably you will have moments that shine through because others have provided those environments. And that's typically better for story building anyways.
Yes.
And so it's a mix of paying attention to others and taking advantage of the, I guess, bait that they give you. And also...
Your light totally just shut off.
I know. It's okay. Somebody turned the light switch is outside of the storage room, so they turned it off, turned it back on.
That's funny.
But it's a mix of taking the bait from other players and making it good and not overdone, and also stepping in and providing those moments when they need to happen tastefully.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I think, what we're still trying to figure out, but we're finally starting to figure out that kind of waltz.
And part of the thing about with all of that is the challenge of doing it virtually. You know, because it like we've all played together for 5 years before this all happened, aside from Lydia, obviously. And I felt like there were lots of times where, especially towards probably the 6 months or so before we started the paper dungeon, where we were still playing in person a lot of times, when that was going on, I felt like we were really starting to figure out some really good aspects of role playing and balancing and making sure that everybody had everything. And then you like throw a camera in front of you and you're live, but you're also not there together and doing all these things. Definitely threw it for a loop. And I definitely agree. I think that we're getting to the point that it's really a good balance between all these different things. It will be interesting in 8 months what happens again, but that's a whole topic for another day.
It's a lot easier to read the room when you're actually in the same room.
Absolutely.
Makes a difference, you know.
Absolutely.
And you can like, there's a lot more body language that you can read and stuff like that. I'm going to keep stalling just to keep Lydia from ever hearing anything about Graz'zt from DJ.
Good call. Good call.
What?
Exactly. But yeah, I think that the online aspect, it's something to like kind of work with, but it isn't necessarily something to be afraid of. Like,
no,
honestly,
no.
Especially the main problem for us is that we're trying to put on a show. Like, if you're just playing a game online, it's actually a lot easier.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Because this is absolutely like a friendly online home game. Like, we love playing Dungeons and Dragons, but there is an aspect of it that it's like, this is not purely for us.
Yeah.
Like, we want to
100%.
make the best quality show for people to watch us. And so, like, that is where a lot of the, like, oh, are they going to make a move? Should I make a move instead? I'm not sure what I should do here.
With the eyebrows.
100%.
Yes.
That you honestly really won't have to worry about in a normal online game. But I suppose now that we've talked about
No. I have more. No. We're not going into Graz'zt yet because I have something else to say about this topic. You said I could open a can of worms, and I have opened a can of worms.
Well, then go on.
So, one of the tough parts about the transition from playing together, because as most of the audience knows, quite a few of us have been playing together for many years in person, like in high school in our parents' basements. The epitome of a little dweeby group of guys just making voices and having a good time and rolling some dice and drinking some soda. It was a great time. And the transition from that to an online thing is quite, it's a lot different. Early on, I think what hit us real hard is, as Aaron was kind of saying, when you're in this kind of environment online and it's a show that's not edited, by the way, it's a podcast that's not edited, there's not a lot of room to like drop the baton per se. Like, we are constantly, there's a baton in one of our hands, and we're consistently just passing the baton back and forth to everybody in the group. And like, sometimes it's a little wobbly, sometimes it's not quite as succinct, but I think you can tell as we go that it has gotten a little bit more smooth. It's like when you're on a sports team and the sports team has been playing for 10 years together, like in the NFL, that team is probably going to be better with synergy than the team that has been playing for 1 year because they're all rookies or whatever. And so I feel
100%.
like we're learning how each other play at a different threshold. We're being challenged in new ways because we're holding ourselves to a different standard. And because it's not edited, like in a normal home game, there's time to just sit there for like half an hour and while other people do their thing and just like hang out on your phone or just like have a side conversation or whatever it is. And when you're live, you don't want to have too long of silence, and you also don't want to be entirely disconnected from what's happening because you'll either miss something or you won't get a cue. And so we avoid scripting quite a bit. I think we're quite good at that. Sometimes we'll have ideas of what might happen, but for the most part, we do pretty good at having it all improv. And since that's the case, we've had to really step up our game on how we approach playing.
Absolutely.
And it's exhausting. When we first started, we were all pooped at the end of every session.
I think jazzed. I was ready to go.
You're Aaron. Now I think all of us have begun to get the feel of playing for 4 hours in this setting. It's a skill that you kind of have to accrue. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Now, to answer
100%.
Maz's question, on my thoughts on Wildfire Druid, the subclass is fine. I think it's really cool. But I will always maintain, regardless of a class's strength or weakness or averageness, if you think that it's cool, you should play it. Because you will have fun playing it if you think that it is cool. Wildfire Druid is it's like, I would put it as slightly above average. It gives you a lot of mobility. It gives you a lot of variability in your options. And it gives you a lot of flair. Plus, you get to have a cool little familiar, and who doesn't like that? DJ probably knows more about... Lydia, you said that you couldn't get in the call because you were working. So, I'll deny you.
And I also have a question for DJ before Lydia hops in, if she does. But are you done talking about Wildfire Druids?
If someone wants to play a Wildfire Druid, play a Wildfire Druid.
I will say, as someone who is currently playing a Wildfire Druid, from the role-playing aspect, the fun that you can have with a little
it's awesome.
Wildfire spirit, amazing. So good. Especially with Takaram, because Takaram's personality and Polio's personality are very different. So it's really fun because you basically get to play two characters at once, which is really awesome. utility wise, I will be honest, it wasn't until last week that I actually like had written up to Karam's stats and like spells and stuff like that. So I
That's
honestly
awesome.
can't tell you from playing experience how good they are because I haven't actually played one
Well, the
since
druid
Karam
spell
showed
list
up.
is good, so as
The
long as
the
you're playing a
spell list
druid, you'll
I
manage.
now have it all. Yeah, and plus Druid is always a great class to play. Like Druid is a really, if you look at like class tiers, Druid is like S class tier
Oh yeah.
of the D&D tiers, no matter which subclass you do. So it's great. And then Wildfire is probably one of the more powerful ones of the Druids on there.
But
It's
then it
pretty
is
dope.
very
So
difficult because
there you go.
you've got a real scaling issue with subclasses because like some of the subclasses in druid are like literally the best in the game, but they only spike at like level
Yeah,
20, and then the other subclasses
yeah,
are like, well, we're here. We don't really do a whole
yeah.
lot, but you're a druid, so you'll be better than a lot of classes, so it'll be fine.
I
Just for
know.
the
I know.
bingo, I'm gonna be right back.
Okay, I know
Oh my
nothing about
goodness,
wildfire
ruining
spirits.
Lydia's dreams again.
Oh, I know nothing about wildfire things with druids, and so you have a heyday, have a little fun little, what's it called, familiar, and just have a good time. That's my advice. I think it would be fun to play because it's D&D. Um, I had a question for DJ, but he
Please
left.
ask away, Grant.
I was gonna okay, fine. I was gonna ask DJ. Remember the topic we were talking about, where just now, where it was like,
Hey, DJ, you're
how
back.
playing in a live setting is different and exhausting. I was going to ask for DJ, how different, not how different, if it feels exhausting as a DM. And now that you've also played for like 4 hours in this show setting, uh, what's the difference between the two?
Between DMing and playing for 4 hours of time in the show setting,
Yes.
is that the question?
Yeah, yeah.
So DMing is okay. So it very much depends on what you prefer. I very much prefer DMing over playing because I feel like I'm better at creating a story than I am role playing through the story. So I feel like it plays into my strengths better, and so I definitely enjoy DMing a lot more. When I do get to play, it's fun, but it's mostly a joke. Aaron, what are you cackling at over there? I see
Lydia.
you cracking that Cheshire
Lydia's trying to
cat
force
grin.
someone to invite her to the Zoom call.
Should we just like not?
No,
We will in a bit, maybe.
She'll be here eventually.
We'll go.
Remember, we're handing off the baton. We got to finish this little tangent.
So to finish what I'm saying, DMing can be really exhausting, but the nice thing about DMing is you get a lot of breaks where you're not the center of attention. It's like, okay, I describe this thing, and then whenever I don't want to be in charge of the situation anymore, I simply do this. I say, what do you guys do? It's great. Then you guys are in charge, and all I have to do is react and make sure that that's within the rules of the game. It's also really great because there are times at night where I can just be like, okay, Tarak, you and Renaya are both taking watch. What do you guys talk about? And I can make that happen. And so that's really nice because I can really have a break whenever I want, versus when you're playing, because you're basically always there, whether it's like you're immersed in the scenes or you're role playing, whether that's just by acting and not actually talking, or if you're actually like involved with the scene where you're very active in it, and obviously you're conversing and having dialogue and all that type of stuff. As to which one I prefer, definitely DMing, but they're both really exhausting for different reasons.
Sure.
I would say playing is more exhausting, though, in my opinion.
Yeah, you also said since DMing feels like it's more in your element, or like more, you can contribute your skills a bit more into the DMing.
100%.
I feel the other way. So like DMing, I think I haven't done it much in my life, and everybody knows this because haha, Grant doesn't know the rules. But despite that, I think one day. Yeah, right. I don't even know in a player's handbook. I think inevitably I will be DMing something, whether it's a side series or another one shot, of course. And I think I would really enjoy it if I really and I think I could be decent at it if I really worked hard. But in the opposite way, I feel like my skills and how I like operate in a D&D setting is far more, I think it favors acting. So for me,
Yeah.
I think like the thought of DMing 4 hours every day sounds so much more exhausting to me than acting for 4 hours. Like,
Yeah.
and so I guess it would be a basis on how people enjoy playing, because it doesn't compute in my mind DMing for 4 hours. But playing
it's
is like,
definitely a
yada da da
difference.
da da. I'm just doing this character.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that it is definitely a difference between what your strengths are and what your desires are too. Like my desire is to create a really impactful story that you guys get to be involved with and get to react in and and put your foot on it. Versus when you're playing, but your goal is a little different, where you want to be entertaining, you want to be involved, and yeah, you want to have your impact, but it's more about you want your character to be properly represented and respected, really, whether that's through their backstory being explored or through how you play them, all that type of stuff, versus DMing where it's like, this is my story that I get to share with my friends. So it definitely just kind of depends on what you're looking to do. And because of that, it allows you always have more energy for things that you enjoy, is what I'm getting at. And so if you enjoy playing more, you're always going to have a better time. Plus, you're going to do it a lot more, so you'll build up that endurance. Versus if you enjoy DMing more, then you'll do that a lot more, hopefully, and then you'll be able to build up that endurance. So, to answer your question, they're both exhausting. It just depends on what you prefer.
All right.
Real quick, we will be right back. Give us just a moment, and then we will return very shortly. That is us. We're here.
Oh my gosh, what is Lydia doing here? How
Lydia,
did she get in here? She
how did
cracked
you-
it. She broke in.
It just happened. It just happened.
This is crazy.
This isn't Wednesday. It's not time for Wrenching Wednesdays.
I'm so excited
going
to
on?
talk. I'm so excited to talk specifically about Malice. Oh, bork, bork, bork. I'm so excited to specifically talk about Malice and nothing regarding Graz'zt.
Yeah, so we were talking about DMing, right? Like that was what we were
And acting
like
in a
the real
show
struggle between
setting.
the two.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you guys just keep talking about it.
No.
I will be right back. I'm gonna pull a DJ as leader of this stream at the moment.
You know what? I'm also going to pull a DJ.
I will.
I gotta
hey guys,
do
let's
something
just
real
all,
quick.
Let's just all get
You
on
guys-
screen real quick.
You know, if you have anything to say about Graz'zt, have fun, okay?
We'll be
right back.
We'll be right back. It won't take
We'll-
long. You just have
We'll
a
be right
good-
back, you guys.
We're just gonna leave you
Yeah,
and DJ
yeah.
alone, and you guys will just take care of it.
I'm gonna go now.
I'll be right back though. It'll take like less than 5
Okay.
minutes for sure.
Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
So,
Okay, now that they're gone, so let's talk about how I'm
Tea
gonna like
time.
totally destroy the world. You know, like gonna destroy the world, come to BBG, kill everybody,
My favorite
kill all
topic.
of them. Yeah. Anyway, so
I'm really
Graz'zt.
upset. I've tried doing this twice now, where I like wrap my arm around my chair, and it's too tall.
Graz'zt.
You have my attention. Yeah, Graz'zt, our boy, the simp.
I got a room? Okay, anyway, so what can you tell me? I know you can't, you're gonna be like, I can't tell you anything. You're gonna, because I've asked you so many questions. This is the real tea, is I can never
Lydia,
ask you any
you can't.
questions because you're always like, well, I can't talk about it. But the problem is I can't ask questions that don't reveal too much. Like, those are the only questions I know how to ask. So,
Okay,
you
but
have to
you have to
help
ask
me.
a specific question. You can't just be like, "Hey,
But I
tell me
can't- but here's
everything,"
the
because I
thing.
can't. Obviously, I can't do
Because the
that.
things I ask are going to be things that you're going to be like, well, I can't tell you that.
Well, what do you want to know? Maybe I can.
I want to know everything.
Well, I can't tell you that.
Haven't
I
you talked
know.
about Graz'zt while I'm gone, have you?
We're working on it.
No, definitely not. We were talking about our Lord and Savior Malice.
Right.
Thank goodness. You better stay.
Speaking
stay
of,
pure
I'm
and holy.
so freaking
in this
happy I got
house.
to see him. I think it's really funny though, DJ, because if you go back and watch the episode when Graz'zt shows up, you see my face drop because I wasn't expecting it at all. I'm literally there. I was like, oh, when Graz'zt shows up. But yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, everything about
So,
Graz'zt that you can.
Specific questions? Do you have like a specific question that I can answer?
No, because I don't know what I'm allowed to ask and what I'm not allowed to ask.
Well, you can ask anything. I won't answer everything, but you can ask anything.
Okay, I think that we should just do a dating panel. Contestant number 1, aka Graz'zt. If you had to describe your perfect first date, what would it be?
Well, you see, not much of the dating type. You know, I'm in the scene a whole lot, but dates in and of itself are not really things that I do. It's just that women usually just kind of throw themselves at me. I'm really good at just kind of getting whatever I want. And so dating in and of itself, oh, that's a good question. You know, I'd want to show up at the door, I guess, and well, first I'm gonna be looking dapper, open collar, maybe a little necklace, rings, whole 9 yards. Then I'll show up at the door after leaving my palace. I don't know, we'll do something fun. Maybe we'll go like burn a small town, or we could, I don't know, we could like do some soul forging and like make a sword or something. That'd be fun. Then after that, we'd go to one of my favorite places. Demogorgon has this great seafood restaurant. Oh my gosh, it's one of the best places.
Even I know about
in the Abyss.
Naturally, yeah.
And so it's amazing what the souls of sea elves taste like when they're just completely raw. Like what those chefs can do with that. Oh my gosh.
I mean, sea elf sashimi is where it's at.
Sea elf sashimi.
Grant, that's what you get for leaving.
I mean, I'm a fan of sushi, but this...
We go back to my palace. I'd probably bring her inside. Show her my throne.
What did I walk into?
Grant, touchdown. Hold
Show
on.
her my
We're
throne.
talking about stuff right now, okay? So calm down.
Take her upstairs. Let the curtains fade to black. See what the night takes us.
All right. That's been very informative. All right, contestant number 1. The next question that I have for you, something happened, and
I'm so happy I showed up.
Something happened, and your girl is upset. Your girl or guy or whatever, your significant other is upset.
Hey man.
What do you do to kind of get them back on your good side? Like flowers, take them to a nice dinner.
Get them a room in your palace. Give them a room.
Oh,
simple.
Okay, all right. So just buy them a house.
Yeah, buy them a house.
Okay, now contestant number 1. Let's say the parents
Are there
of
other
your
contestants on the
significant
show?
other don't necessarily like you or agree with you. What kind of things do you do to kind of bring them over to your side?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry. What was your name? I don't even know the host name. What's your
God.
name? A god.
God.
All right. A god.
Monotheistic, specifically in this realm.
Well, here's the thing. My title is the Prince of Pleasure. Specifically, my domain is I just kind of get what I want. And so if I don't care specifically about them, I don't really care. You know? So I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to go after my girl. I'm going to do what I want. But the rest of them, you know, they can have their opinions, whatever. Lions don't care about flies. You know? That's all I'm saying.
Pretty sure that is not the saying, but we'll call it good. All right.
It's a mixture of several sayings, actually.
Thank you for attending the dating panel with only
Grant,
one
you're
person.
Who muted me?
It was
Who
me.
do you think?
I'm the only one who has the power to do that.
I'm so upset.
I'm
I muted you like 2 minutes
having a great
ago.
time.
Yeah. Anyway, were there specific questions you felt like harassing us about since you barged your way into our stream, Lydia?
Or did you just want to talk about your hot boyfriend? Because this is a discussion panel. Yeah.
I guess I'll just go and get back to work. I guess.
No. I mean,
Wanted.
yes, get back to work, young lady. You know, you got deadlines to meet, but
Welcome.
you actually have.
I actually do for you guys. Yeah.
Welcome.
But no,
Actually have
This is
serious
Lydia, the
questions?
channel workhorse.
I do have serious questions, but now I'm sad.
Well, just ask him anyway.
Don't be. Why were you sad? I gave you a whole Graz'zt dating panel.
I know, and it was great, and then you proceeded to scold me.
I missed a lot, didn't I?
Yeah. Okay.
Grant, what's new?
Okay. Am I going to get any more information as far as the whole what Malice is up to situation?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. That's sometime.
I mean, you got the last episode. You got a whole vision from him of like.
Oh right, but I don't like. We still
like,
don't
what
know.
does it mean?
We don't know like what is like the arguments about. What is causing the battles? Like why?
So Lydia,
Why are they
I'm gonna give you
feuding?
some insight from someone who isn't DMing the campaign. The answer to your question is yes, you will get more information. As for when or how soon that will be, that I don't even know if DJ knows. But I would almost guarantee you that we will eventually figure it out, because I would bet you it has.
You guys
something
will
to do with
learn
the
quite a
overarching
bit.
plot.
I will tell you this. This
Okay.
conflict that Malice, Demarius, and Malkuma are being a part of, or that overall arching conflict, is more of final arc stuff.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Gosh dang,
So like another
bide your
50
time, Lydia.
episodes plus.
Hey, I'm just trying to get conversation going, my guy. I
That
know.
was a great question.
I know I can't get all the tea, but maybe I could start heating up some water for you.
Lydia is like the Boston Tea Party.
I
You just show up and you start throwing crates into the water.
You know, I like the idea of Lydia being like on strike at the paper dungeon because of Graz'zt somehow. I just like that. I don't know how it works, but it makes sense in my heart.
it does make sense.
Welcome, Dungeoneers, to exploring Graz'tz's moral ambiguity.
So this does inspire me to ask a question, because I've talked to both Drew and Lydia about it, and kind of my perceptions on it, because they're always having their little quarrels and fights about, oh, my gods are good and your demon's evil and my demon's fine and your gods suck. That's my perfect flawless impression of both of the characters and the players.
It's pretty spot on.
And of course, because everyone asks me questions that I don't know the answer to, but I have to answer them anyway, they're like, Aaron, what's your take on the conversation? And my kind of perception of it is, so in the past, like in past editions of Dungeons & Dragons, the planes have functioned on kind of where good and evil were existing and interactable things. So like there was a plane of good and a plane of evil. So it was something that was like accessible through spells, like the spell protection from good and evil, literally protected from anyone with a good or evil alignment, rather than celestials and like creature types. But as time has progressed and editions have evolved, they kind of got rid of positive and like good and evil planes, and they became like positive and negative planes, and then they became like the negative plane still exists, but it isn't exactly associated with evil. It's just kind of a negative plane, and like good and evil planes weren't really there. It was just Mount Celestial was a place, and the Nine Hells and the Abyss were places that weren't necessarily like an interactable thing. Like evil and good became a lot more like an issue of morality, right. And that was more fluid and changeable rather than something that could be altered or affected or manipulated. So the answer to the question of like, would Graz'zt ever be a good guy for me is, I don't know. If evil is an interactable thing, then the answer is no. If it is
okay,
not
first,
an
I'm going to pause
thing,
you. I'm going to pause you because you said, because of something you said.
What?
You said, is Graz'zt going to be a good guy for me? I have never asked that.
No. So
I want to clarify this part. No, I just want to clear this up. Drew is the one who is always like, Graz'zt isn't going to be good for you. And I'm like, Drew, that's the plan.
I'm looking for a toxic relationship. This is what I want.
Anyway, continue. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But in terms of like would does Graz'zt even have the potential to do good things? Oh, Drew's here. Oh no. He heard.
Oh, he said my bad for looking out for Renaya. It's getting hot in here, guys.
But besides the point, like in older editions, demons literally did not have the capability of doing something that was even remotely good unless it was completely accidental, because evil was a permeable effect that like didn't allow you to do like healing. Like you couldn't. That was just not a thing. So my question for the DM here is, evil and good, do they function as a permeable effect, or is it simply a question of changeable morality? God, that was a sick sentence.
Definitely the latter of the two.
Okay.
I never specific for a couple of different reasons. A, evil and good doesn't. I feel like it's not as impactful story-wise having clear-cut evil and clear-cut good, where, you know, the hero is the Superman where they're lawful good and nothing can ever corrupt them or anything like this. And the villain is obviously the villain and there's no redeeming qualities about them and they're obviously bad. Like, I feel like that's a very childish and a very childish way of looking at stories. And it's a good thing to like start out with, but as you mature and grow in the world, especially at our point, to have impactful stories that actually are entertaining and things that we learn from, you need a lot more of that moral grays that really tie into more of the real world. And so even though it's D&D and it's a completely made up world, I wanted it to have that similar tie where there's a lot of moral grays and ambiguity and, you know, is Graz'zt truly evil or does he just do a lot of evil things because that's what his purpose is, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So yeah, that's definitely more of the latter. It's definitely not like a permeable effect. I will never show up to you guys and say, hey, or I will never say, hey, you guys fail a wisdom save. You are now evil for the next hour. You might be under mind control. You might be affected by this, but it'll never be like your personality and your morals have changed because of this effect that has happened to you.
Yeah.
It will always be like, you're just not in control.
I mean, there was a trap in like Tomb of Horrors that was like you walked into it and your alignment was reversed. So like lawful became chaotic, evil became good, stuff like that. Which is just not a thing. Like the weird part is it's still kind of around, because it's like there are specific magic items that like can only be attuned to by someone who is good aligned.
Yeah,
stuff
exactly.
like that, which is it's such a weird thing because it's like it isn't a permeable effect, but it is still
Yeah.
like a functioning trait, which is it's a super weird.
It's
way
like
of doing
somehow
things.
it's measurable, but
Yeah.
it's not defined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
it's
Yeah.
it's really strange.
And for those type of things, then like the way I think about it is those items or effects kind of have almost a consciousness of their own, where the item in and of itself is judging you based off of what it can, extrapolate from you, and then it will allow itself to either be used or not be used, based off of how much you align with its morals. It's like, am I willing to partner with this person?
Yeah, rather than
Is more
evil or
of it-
good, it looks for specific
Yeah.
tasks or concepts that it agrees with you on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and DJ.
Because, like, I mean, you can look at it like Cather is supposedly super, super good, right? But one of his gods is literally like its alignment is chaotic evil, and Cather is not hesitant to kill someone, whether
I
they
always
have
kind of viewed
they
him
quote unquote
as
deserve it or not.
like a very like almost lawful neutral, like but leans towards good.
Yeah, Cather's definitely lawful neutral.
But this brings me to a conversation that I went on like an hour rant with Lydia about, and I'm gonna trim it down.
Real quick before you introduce
yes.
that, can I say one thing?
What?
DJ, the whole
Yes.
moral gray or whatever, especially like we see it very clearly with how you're showing Graz'zt, like how he operates with Renai and stuff. Having that kind of moral gray is so much fun to play in, like for characters, like, oh gosh, like Edward clearly doesn't like the idea of a demon prince, but like Grant sees Graz'zt being somewhat decent, and it just doesn't compute. And you have to like for us as players, we have to grind. Like there's a war in us about what we perceive this NPC to be and how our character is going to respond. And every single different player has a very different perspective for very clear reasons. And I love it. It's so much fun.
That has very much been my goal with Graz'zt. Like when I've said it before, I said it a couple weeks ago, I think, that Graz'zt was not an initial part of the plan for the campaign, but I'm so glad that he's become an element of it, especially with the relationship that he has with Renaya, because it really does give me a really awesome opportunity to really exemplify that moral ambiguity and that gray area of, this is someone who is supposed to be the epitome of evil doing kind things for a person that he cares about. How is that?
It's weird.
How is that working?
You know, it's perfect for Renaya too, because like the whole path of Renaya really discovering what she thinks and wants to do. Like Graz'zt is the perfect curveball to throw in there. Oh, yeah. It's like, what do I think about all this?
So Graz'zt kind of reminds me of the like, I can't remember the exact like saying or something like that, but it's very much the idea of like a king that treats his like people like absolute garbage, but his like his queen as an absolute queen. Like he's to everyone else he's just an absolute scumbag, but like to this one person he is like the epitome of goodness. But this is kind of fits along with that. So I am of a little bit of a differing ideal when it comes to like good and evil in my games. And part of it is a little bit of nostalgia. I love something. I'll start off with what I dislike. It frustrates me sometimes because I like to have a villain sometimes that I don't have to question if they're bad. Yeah. Like some of my favorite like media to take in and stuff. I love the show He-Man. I think that the show it's entertaining. It's just really great. And one of my favorite things about it is there's never any moral quandary when I like watch the show. I know that He-Man is going to do. He's a good guy, and then I know that Skeletor is the villain. And there's never a point in time where I'm like, where like He-Man's about to like attack Skeletor, and then there's like a flashback where Skeletor's like, no, wait, you don't know my past. And then it shows him being like beaten as a child. No, Skeletor just sucks because he's evil. And then you get to
I don't know. Yeah, have you seen Skeletor when he had skin?
I mean, he still sucks though.
Another example is MacGyver. Like MacGyver is always the good guy.
It's that like 80s like action hero.
Yeah.
Like paragon of justice versus the paragon of evil.
Definitely.
And there's no question. And I kind of like it. I enjoy, like, I mean, I love a moral quandary as much as the next, when I'm like, am I truly a hero, or is this evil in my hand? Like, I love that. But also, it feels really good to cheer for a good guy that you know is good, and boo a bad guy 100%. That you know is bad.
It's nice. Maybe saying it was childish was a little harsh earlier, but
and I didn't take offense to it, by the way. It absolutely. I'm talking about He-Man.
You're good. You're good. You are good. You're good. But I do like the idea. I almost feel like it depends on what type of media you're trying to consume, because there's definitely like, I feel like it's almost like you want the. This is also gonna sound offensive, so I apologize for this. But you want like the simple media, which is like, this is good, this is bad. I don't have to spend time debating with the characters on if they're good and bad. You know, I can just consume this and it's easy. Versus
Phineas and Ferb. No, that has moral ambiguity. Sorry, keep going.
100%. Is Doofenshmirtz really the bad guy?
Are Phineas and Ferb is Candace right?
Like, I used to watch this one show. I can't remember what it was called, but it had a very like soap opera feel to it, where like every episode had these intense drama things, and I had to take like breaks watching it sometimes, because I'm like, this is a lot.
It's hard. It's hard.
So there's definitely a difference between like having something that is like a lot more simpler. It's easy to like digest. Things are plain and simple, and then there's these big puzzles and overwhelming
100%.
dilemmas and things like that. And there's definitely a balance with it.
And that's kind of what I like, and kind of what the purpose of like when I DM for table scraps. Very rarely is there a moment in time where you really have to question like who the villain is. Like, there is a few times, like when you guys went to the Shadowfell.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like the moment like the villain is found, there is no like, but what if she truly had good, and what if that old lady really did have good intentions? No, she's an insane murder wizard. Straight up, go wild. Like, the biggest moral question in it was like, I don't know, is this strange like elder creature without a face dangerous to us? Like, is the learning a threat?
The best example I can think of for like moral ambiguity and exploring a large world would be Marvel. Like, I think Marvel pulls that off well, like 100%. With the characters and with the villains. There's hardly ever a black and white, honestly. Sometimes there is, and that's interesting, but like for the really long drawn out, everything's connected, and you want to, for the very thought-provoking things, I think like that's a must, like exploring that kind of moral question.
And I also kind of think it works better with, I like black and white villains that are less relatable to humans. So like things like liches, or like otherworldly like aliens and mind flayers and stuff. Things that do not have the like human capacity for like that change in emotion and thought process. I think make it like I dislike it more when I have to question whether or not they're good or evil.
Like the Decepticons.
In like a constant state, like when I have to question if every single mind flayer I come across is a good guy. Every once in a while, I think it is good to like throw a curveball in there and be like, hey, this guy's actually just a really nice guy who loves his family, and he just looks this way, and he really sucks. But like for the most part, if the big bad is this like eldritch mind flayer from between the stars, I think it's like almost bone chilling when an enemy has no problem just committing horribly atrocious acts because they want to. Like, that is like terrifying. Like, if you give a reason to someone where it's like, no, they were like, this terrible thing happened to them and now they're lashing out in revenge, it's like, okay, that's understandable. But if you present it as, no, this thing is doing this because it wants to, for no other reason, not because it's for revenge or anything like that.
Like the Joker.
That's like terrifying.
The Joker. So, okay. Gosh, do you mind if I dweeb just a little bit? There's a little, it's totally related. Batman and the Joker, dude. One of the best, I think, written hero-villain dynamics ever. Because Batman has this, like, sick dedication of like, I am the only one that has this ability to like do the right thing, and I have to do it, like, and he thinks everything is his fault. And then you have Joker, who explores different reasons for being the way he is and what he presents, but he lies about it. Like, the stories don't match up, so you don't actually know what made Joker what he is, but Joker's reasoning for doing what he did is just because he just
He likes it.
wanted to do it. And so Batman and Joker, both sick in some way, this weird dedication to this thing for like sideways reasons, they end up needing each other. So there's a lack of moral ambiguity there. There's also a lot of it. It's weird. It's like Joker is clearly bad and wrong. Batman is clearly good intentions and like doing it for the right reason, and he does good things. But both of them are also like, the question of why isn't heavily addressed, and it just leaves some mystery. I just love that stuff. It's a weird mix of the two.
Now I do apologize, Lydia. You went to all that work to force your way onto this stream, and we haven't like talked to you at all. I'm gonna ask you the same question because you weren't here at the beginning in the thing. Thoughts on the last episode? Do you like things that you want Renaya to pursue, or that interested her, or that she saw someone else doing and wants to talk to them about, like plans for the future? What's dealing with you?
I loved last episode so much. I think it's really fun because the past 2 episodes specifically, we've really done like DJ specifically has done a really good job of like covering all our bases. Oh, yeah. like I know we talked about the last episode how it had like we had serious conversations, and then we had like funny joking time, and then we like actually got down and did like the adventure part. Like we had all those. Well, this last one we had puzzles, we had combat, and we had like important character developing conversations. Like I've been loving our episodes lately. I've been having an absolute blast with them. And then as far as like with Renaya and things like that, I think it's really funny, Aaron, with you when you were giving like was it me and Drew kind of a heads up of like Tarak's gonna be doing something this next episode.
Oh yeah.
And like I don't expect you guys to do it and like to go along with it, but he will be sad. And Lydia was so stressed about it. I was like, I don't want to make Tarak sad. But then when it happened, and the question was, would Renaya go down and help, kind of thing. It was just like the way Tarak had responded to her, and then the way things have played out like in the past. It was like, Renaya trusts Tarak like with everything. And so if Tarak's like, I got this, don't worry, especially if he's like happy and joyful about it like he was, which was really weird. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh, okay, just yell if you need. Good luck.
Yeah, so to clarify, after the 2 episodes ago, I had talked to both like Lydia and Drew, I think in the same call, and I was like, so I don't think this combat will be too difficult if we're all down there, because we got like 2 paladins, a cleric, and then a pretty little elf boy in the form of Edward. So like we're pretty stacked against a Dracolich. So I'm just gonna do something to spice it up, both as like a decision making problem and things like that. And I'm going to ask Renaya and Cather to do something for me, but I don't think that they're going to follow it. But it's a lose-lose, because if you choose to agree with what Tarak is saying and go along with it, then Tarak will be put in incredible danger. But if you choose to disobey him and like proceed with whatever it is that you're going to do, or not do the thing that he asks, Tarak will be safer, but he will also be incredibly upset with you. But I don't expect you to do it anyway. So it's basically just like, hey, look, you're screwed either way, so take your pick. And I sent DJ a message during the combat, mm-hmm. where I was like, yo, I don't know what to do now. I really didn't expect no one to participate. Like I really expected someone would go down there. And because I was afraid that I was like, oh no, this combat's going to be really boring for like the other people because they aren't going to be a part of it. And I hate excluding people in combat. Like, people want to do cool stuff. So I was like feeling really guilty. I'm like, I got to finish this like really fast, or else they're just going to be sitting there suffering for like 3 rounds of combat, which takes 30 minutes. And I was getting really worried. So I'm glad it ended when it did, and I'm also glad that I didn't blow it. But yeah, there was a couple of awkward turns.
We're all so pro Tarak that it was so fun for everybody.
And I mean, and the thing was even if like we had all gone down there, it still would have been Tarak versus the Dracolich, because we all would have just
that's a good point.
Been knocked out. So it honestly didn't matter if we had gone down or not. It still would have been a Tarak fight, and it would have been epic either way. But
I think if you had gone down there, I'm pretty sure I would have lost.
Probably, because you would have to be taking care of us. Well, and then my damage. That's right, because warding bond.
So
gosh,
like, I was at 11 health. So if you had been dealt an additional 22 damage, I would have died.
I felt so freaking bad when I took damage,
so
and you were down there by yourself.
DJ was like, "Yeah, no, he aims it up at the top," and I'm like, "Oh crap, warding bond! I can't do this."
I love that, like, literally for it to have worked out, DJ had to roll so poorly and Aaron had to roll so well. And for some reason, the stars aligned and Aaron rolled above 10 like 5 times and DJ didn't crit very much. And it was like, it was great. It was such a ball.
Here's the thing. So every DM knows that there are times when you botch the rolls on purpose. You do whatever you need to do just for the story elements. Here's the thing with that fight. Is I fully expected to need to do that and never had to, which blew me away. Which is so
funny.
Like there was never a moment where where anything was not true.
Maybe
crazy.
It's Drew's new superpower. Drew being able to influence the rules.
The real power.
We did. Facts.
I think that that's the true strength.
Wait, is Drew the real support here?
I love the puzzle so much.
The puzzle
just
really
the image in my head of like what all our characters are doing is like Catherine's over here just like, well, I just organized these bones for like 30 minutes and didn't do anything. So I'm gonna go beat up the skeleton. Like turns and leaves. So there you see like Catherine in the back just like smacking at this giant skeleton. You have Tarak being like, tiny bones, with like the gauntlets trying to find them. You have Poyo like jumping in and like thinking, and then you have Renaya and Edward just like running back and forth trying to put these little pieces together. You have like Edward with the wand, like with these little pieces. Like it was so funny image. It was like such a funny scene in my head that was playing out, and I loved that puzzle so
Tarak just throwing bones behind him like, well, that's not it. That's not. He breaks a bone.
I pick up these tiny bones with my massive hands and gauntlet.
It was so good.
It was a very entertaining.
Oh, but Aaron.
Yeah.
Why were you so shocked that Catherine and I actually agreed to not help you?
Because they're bleeding hearts that don't let other people put themselves in danger.
Well put. And it's Tarak. Yeah.
I mean, I was fully prepared to make Tarak sad, and I wasn't happy about it.
100%. I assume so. Cather has a big protection problem right now, where he's like, I must protect my. I must protect me family. Sorry, I had to switch accents there. I forgot who I was. And like he already lost like 2 people. I expected him to be like, I'm not going to lose another one.
He's like, I already lost them. I can't lose these.
And then I expected Renaya to be like, no, you're not. You're gonna die, and I'm not gonna let that happen. And then she was gonna jump in, and then Edward is gonna be like, but I don't know, guys. I gotta get bit by a vampire. I guess and then he'll get bit by a vampire, but then just hang at the edge and like shoot some spells or something.
Well, little do you know, Aaron, Tarak has been replaced by Poyo as the best friend slot.
100%, and thank goodness.
I love Poyo.
Poyo
because
is
now
great.
Poyo's
now
the
Tarak
best.
can truly embrace the ability to put himself in danger without everyone being worried all the time.
Oh, okay. This kind of goes off with Poyo for a second. And I think I've talked about it with both Aaron and Grant now at this point. But DJ, like the physical element you bring in like acting out things, like yeah, Poyo's like the stuff you do, like just physically when we're playing is so cool to me. Cause and it's not just with like Poyo being like cute and stuff, but like Malice. Like even though you're not supposed to be making facial expressions, like I get delivered stuff through the facial
We need to get you a
facial
blank
expressions.
mask, DJ.
And acting.
We need to get you like a mood board that like you
like
just point.
No, you just need
A Malice
one of
mask.
The, like masks on a stick that you can just put in front of your face.
We need this.
and then because what brought it up was my mom has been going through past episodes with me, and we got to the one where Renaya goes to Demon Palace for the first time, and like all the demon lords bow, and you're talking as Graz'zt, and you're like motioning like you're talking to a group, and they're like doing that, and my mom was like, I love that he does that, and I'm like I've been trying to do that because he's been doing that, and it's epic. And so yeah, so I've been trying to add more like physical acting in to do it, to kind of give more with it, because I've been seeing you do it, and it
really became visible in Between the Rows for sure.
Oh
yeah.
Dude, Lucio.
There was so much
my
physical
gosh.
acting in Between the Rows this year.
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
DJ burned calories acting
for
as
real.
Lucio.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry.
Just like standing.
Well, thank you for that.
I'm doing fine. Like, very, very well done.
And it's like I know, and Aaron and Grant, you guys do it too when there's like a physical like comedy scene with it. like the one that sticks out in my brain is when Tarak fought the one demon in like one hit. And it's like and then there's you acting it out, and then there's Grant acting out as the demon, like flailing and like throwing himself off screen. Oh, it's so good. I love it.
That's
so
also
much.
a TikTok. Follow us on TikTok.
It is a TikTok.
Speaking of plugging, I believe the wonderful Lydia Corin has a store.
Oh,
yes.
She's wearing one of her merches.
Really cool.
I am.
One of her merches.
Of the Fiend
Lydia,
forever.
I apologize in advance, but I would say we'd love to show you guys what we have got from the store, but she hasn't freaking shipped it to us yet.
I apologize.
It's
That
okay.
is my bad.
No worries.
Oh, wait.
We'll all
If you
rep it
guys
on
ordered
stream
your
when it
stuff-
happens.
If you guys order your stuff through Lydia's
Your
store, you'll
stuff will
probably
come
get it
on
before
time.
we get ours.
Their stuff is sample orders that I had to order, and I have to ship out on my own, and that is why there's a delay.
Yes. If you order from Lydia's stuff, you'll probably get your stuff before we get our stuff. It'll be great.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's very likely.
You are just really ripping into her on this one.
It's because she was supposed to ship it last
It
night,
has-
and I guarantee she didn't do it.
have not labeled them yet.
Exactly.
DJ's
Boom.
just too excited. Well, wait, there's no such thing as too excited for Lydia's merch because it's that good. Visit Lydia's store today.
Okay, so I'm gonna get off topic of the plug that was off topic of the other thing we were talking about. And I'm gonna go back.
That was
to talking
probably
about
off
myself,
topic.
Okay.
Because there's nothing I love more in this world as number 2 in ego on the paper dungeon, beaten only by DJ McKellops.
My name's DJ. I'm the best person alive.
So,
Prazius is third.
no, Graz'zt is 3rd, clearly.
Fair.
But about the fight with the Dracolich, I have never been so like I talk a lot about how hard I think things out and plan things.
Oh my
but
gosh,
sometimes
dog.
it's really hard to see, and I was like impressed with myself, like, and I was more impressed that it actually worked. Because like
It
in
actually
that,
did.
when we got on call, like when I got on call with DJ beforehand, I laid out how I was going to run this combat, like step by step, where it was like turn 1, I'm going to heal myself for my full like healing hands. I'm going to cast Sanctuary on myself as a bonus action to try to dissuade him from attacking me. Second round, I'm going to cast Protection from Evil and Good, and I'm going to use a bonus action to regain a 2nd level spell slot. So that way I'll have a total of 5 spell slots to use Divine Smite with. And then theoretically, if all of those end up dealing around like 25 damage or so, that should be enough to reach the amount of hit points that I think a Dracolich has. Because I'm pretty sure my guess was around 278. And then you were like, well, it's not an ancient Dracolich, so the health is a bit lower than that. I'm like, okay, that makes things a little bit easier. And that was even me forgetting that I could use the like regain a 2nd level spell slot twice. And then it worked.
And then
it actually worked
every time. Like it worked.
Like it went, and it was funny because I'm like going through this fight. And I'm like playing out your message beforehand in your head. You're like, this is my plan. And then I can go back and I can tell you each specific step that you took in the combat. And I remember like DMing it and being like, well, crap.
Yeah.
He's laid the perfect trap.
Like it was
pretty good. It was
crazy. It was really fun to play because I'm like, oh my God, it's working. It's working.
Aaron's like, nothing's ever worked for me in my life for the first time. It's working.
So in the text messages, I sent like 30 messages to him on Sunday night. And one of the messages was, if Tarak survives the first round / goes before the Dracolich, it is theoretically possible for him to succeed in this task. Parentheses, I'd need at least 2 crits and you to roll badly with disadvantage incredibly often. But if I get knocked down, you have full permission to kill me. And I legitimately, like, I was like, this is probably the easiest time that DJ will have to potentially just flat out kill Tarak.
I was going for it.
And I like
11 HP.
It was going to be a time. 100% 20 or 22 damage to Lydia.
Well, heck her for having good dexterity.
That was only because I had the warding bond bonus and Cather was right next to me.
Shout out to warding bond. The spell is incredible.
The spell
it's just so good.
Annoying.
So I just want to note this. I think it's hilarious because everybody in this group makes me strive to improve in a different area anytime I see them play.
Aww.
So it's like, so with DJ, it's the storytelling, the physical elements of it, the confidence, the things like that. And then with Grant,
his mic etiquette.
Hey.
I'm just kidding.
With Grant, a lot of it that I try to improve is like more playful character conversation, more lighthearted things, comedy elements. Like I like look a lot to how Grant plays for that kind of stuff. Then with Drew, I look to Drew for the more dramatic moments, the moments to be quiet, like when the silence is more powerful than saying anything, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like I love that he's really good at that. And then with Aaron, the thing that he always makes me want to improve on is the mechanics of the game and all the knowledge behind everything you do. Like
the Tarak think tank.
The think tank. 100% the think tank. Because like Aaron's ability to just know what he's doing, like I struggle so much in combat. I've literally made a dummy cheat sheet for myself on things that I can and cannot do in combat because Lydia doesn't compute.
Dummies.
It's literally Combat for Dummy Lydia is what it's called, and it's a table that has like the situation and like for like I'm adding my channel divinity in because I forgot I had channel divinity, so I'm adding channel divinity to my chart, and for situation I put something jokey. For channel divinity, its situation is Dad help, and
Father, stop this.
I can't wait for next year when you have to play a level 18 character.
Dude, I'm gonna be so bad at it.
You're gonna have a dummy sheet that's like
I'm gonna have like
30
3
inches
pages.
long.
I'm gonna need a dummy sheet for my dummy sheet.
Your dummy sheet is going to be a full like choose your own adventure like book.
Facts.
I love the fact that it like the whole dummy sheet is kind of like it's like one of those flowcharts where it's like, is it evil? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Is it undead? Yes. Okay. Channel divinity. And then it's like, no, it's not evil. Okay. Can you talk to it? No. Yeah.
And like bonus actions, like, and then can you like you have to this bonus action you can use a spell. This bonus action you can't use another spell. But dude, D&D's hard sometimes.
I agree.
It's hard most of the time.
But but yeah, so Aaron with game mechanics and like combat and like the ability to just strategize, and then also just all the like background of Tarak.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much detail and history in Tarak.
Oh my gosh. Aaron, to play off what you're saying, Lydia, both of those things are absolutely correct. Aaron's knowledge of the game and how it works is something that I always strive to know more of and always fail on every account. Every time I'm like, this is the rule, Aaron's like, well, technically it's actually this. And I'm like, you know what? You're right, dog.
We love him for it. We also hate him for it.
No,
you're right most of the time.
I don't know if people know this, but I truly love the fact that I have an awesome rules lawyer in the game, especially the way Aaron does it, where he's a rules lawyer on both sides.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's very fair. It's just really nice to have that like constant arrow of like, this is how the game works, play it right. That's it.
I actually sent a tweet out about this today because I saw a different tweet that I responded to. That it was basically saying that it was like hot take, like players often do better with clearly defined rules than an anything goes mentality, and I have believed this for a very long time, where it's guidelines are really good because they cause you to think creatively and to like work with them and around them and use them for your advantage. It's for me it's kind of difficult with like a no rules like mentality, because if everything is spectacular and you can do anything, then it lessens the impact of anything happening.
It's the whole syndrome effect where it's like, if everybody's super, nobody will be. Exactly.
And so I really like the concept of like, we may be constrained to the earth, but we can still reach for the stars. Like I love that. I don't entirely remember how we got on this topic, but rules lawyering, it's like when it comes to players in DM, it's really great because like, especially for Tarak has a lot of like very niche things that like occur in very strange situations where it's like, oh, he's actually like immune to this, or oh, he's resistant to that, or oh, this affects him doubly, and things like that. And I think that it's really cool when those things happen in campaign, and I think it's really good for both the other players and the DMs when they're presented with an obstacle that is like it has clearly defined rules and you know how it works, so then you know what it can't do, and then also in turn what it can. So I try to really focus on that when I play and DM. Because I think that it just adds to the thing.
And then the second aspect to what I was going to say is the deep dive of research that both Lydia and Aaron do.
Oh,
it was very exemplified in Between the Rows
honestly
with Aubrey. But then the research that Aaron goes into, where he has literally created a whole culture from scratch for his character to embody and have little subtle hints that nobody ever notices unless you know anything about this, which nobody does yet because nobody's talked about it yet. Like, it's amazing. So, oh my gosh, it's fantastic.
I'm so excited for when, like, down the road, when there are more people listening to the older stuff and talking about it. It'll be so fun to hear what the audience thinks about all of the little nuances, like theories. Oh my gosh, audience theories. I'm so excited when there's more. You know what I mean? Not like more, I need more. It's just very exciting because
yeah,
I know we all really enjoy, you can
Yeah.
tell, we all really enjoy just talking about the characters and like the background. We like to dweeb out so hard. And I know that there will be and are Dungeoneers that just flippin' go wild for it. And so I'm
100%.
excited to see that more and like have a little bit more of a exchanging community, which will happen through like talk shows and also like community forums like Discord and whatnot. So I'm
Is
so pumped for that.
always fun when you get to be a part of a world. Always
Mhm.
fun.
And I can guarantee you, as in the listener or watcher now, I can guarantee you that there are so many tiny elements and like thought processes that have gone into the events of the campaign that have not ever truly been explored. And like we will be exploring those more in conversation as we do more like talk shows and stuff like I mentioned. But gosh, I just love the deep dive. It's my
Well,
favorite thing.
A fun show would be going back and like reacting to early episodes.
We've talked about
Yeah.
this.
That'd be fun.
There's so
Well,
many ideas.
I was talking with Aaron yesterday, and because Lydia has really bad memory, so Lydia has a lot of things, but Lydia doesn't always remember everything. And there's actually been several moments in campaign where I have slipped up because I've forgotten what's happened and stuff like that.
Relatable.
But one of the like things I do love is that sometimes I will accidentally end up doing something really, really, really notable. Like it might not even be, my dogs are barking. It might not be like something really big or something like that, but it'll be like a small detail that I end up accidentally putting in place that I didn't mean to, but the fact that it's in there makes it so much better. I
You're
noticed
like, oh,
one the other
that's
day and I
actually
was
brilliant.
and I was like, oh, Lydia, you subconscious genius. I was like,
You
That is a
subconscious
great
genius.
that is a great way to explain Lydia. Just a subconscious genius. That's so
Imagine
true.
if she unleashed her full potential.
It might be the
24/7.
end of the world. It might end the blood war.
It may be the end of this
might
one,
end the
but it
blood
would be the
war.
creation of another.
She might ascend to deity status.
If anyone's wondering, I've been a bit distracted the past 2 minutes because I've been playing D&D online.
I noticed you calculating.
I had to math out. So this is a little behind the scenes in Aaron's life. I play in an online, like text to play Dungeons and Dragons game through Slack, where I play as a 20th level multi-classed Cavalier Fighter and Forge Cleric with 2 epic boons. And we're fighting an army of demons right now, where I somehow ended up 1v1ing a Baylor, and everyone else is dealing with roughly 150 other demons.
Nice.
I think I got the good job.
What level are you again?
Level 20. We are maximum level with 2 epic boons. I currently have True Sight and are not affected by age.
That sounds rather stressful.
Yeah, and I just got crit by the Baylor, so it did 46 slashing damage and 11 lightning damage. We don't do crits how we do them in this game. It would have been a lot scarier if we did. And then I also got hit by his whip, because Baylors have these, they're really cool. They've got like a flaming sword in one hand and a lightning whip in the other. And then I proceeded to fail my gosh dang strength save with a plus 11 to it. God dang it, I suck at saving throws.
Not surprised.
And so yeah, I took 70 some damage in a turn, and so that was fun. But then I had to math out 56 divided by 2, because I have an ability
28.
to become resistant to an attack, and then it was a pain. I got a whole lot of math.
Your life sounds so
It's
stressful.
so
You need a spa day
I-
or like a
I-
vacation or something.
I would hate a spa day.
You truly would.
I really would
The
hate it.
idea of someone touching you
Spa
everywhere is probably your worst
day.
nightmare.
Track and I share the like no
Spa
touch
day.
policy. Yeah, shiatsu, aromatherapy.
Aromatherapy. Yeah.
I'm gonna take us off this topic if that's okay.
I'm talking
What's
about
up?
Dungeons and Dragons, Lydia.
I know
I'm
you're
on
talking about the
topic.
dragon. I know you're on topic, but this is like a different topic, and I don't
Aaron,
want
you
to
sound like a
derail
kid.
you.
You sound like a
There's
kid
more.
talking about his extensive
Well, you
Pokemon
sound like a
collection.
baby.
Baby hands. Okay.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm gonna interrupt you right now. I thought it was so funny that Grant. So this is a throwback. So Grant
Okay.
calls the skeleton hand baby hands, and it took me legitimately 2 weeks to make the comparison to the fact that we used to call Grant baby hands because his hands
Yeah.
are so tiny compared to all of his friends.
This is real.
Like, fun fact: Grant's hands
I
are the
mean-
size of like a 6-year-old girl's.
I feel like it's tough for you to tell like via
Do
screen.
you have
but...
like something to use as comparison, like a water bottle or something?
Oh, you know, I have this mug.
Yeah, his hands are tiny. Oh, that's a big mug.
It's not. It's a normal mug. It's
To compare, I am able to fully wrap over the tops of my fingers over his. If
Here's
my
a smaller
hands
mug.
If my
Yeah,
hands are like next to his, he has
It's crazy.
little tiny hands.
So yeah, Grant's a baby hand. Anyway, continue, Lydia.
Okay, so this is for DJ.
Ask me about Graz'zt.
It's not about
no.
Graz'zt.
Dang.
I'm uncomfy.
It's kind of related to Graz'zt. So, I'm curious. So, I've done a little bit of developing of some demon stuff for the world. And that has since been removed from my grasp. But there's potential of it being in something else. And I was wondering how much of that is going to come into play later in the campaign, if at all.
The mechanics that we have come up with, I have no clue if that will or not be included. Some background things, definitely.
This sounds suspicious.
Well,
It is
everything.
suspicious.
See, Lydia does a great job of trying to make me sound sus when Lydia is the one that's sus.
Lydia is the secret puppet master, I feel.
This is why.
DJ, blink twice if you need
Yeah, y'all
help.
think that well, that's a lot of blinks. That's a lot of blinks. Was that divisible by 2 or was that an odd number? Y'all think that I'm like this conniving, like think tank, like
I mean, you are.
I will control from behind the scenes, and I'm not saying that I'm not, but like y'all, Lydia is terrifying.
Lydia's the big bad. Haven't
Lydia
we like
is the
chat?
villain.
Chat already
Lydia-
agrees that Lydia's the big bad.
I legitimately feel like Lydia is the person that like sits over my shoulder and like I go to make it. I'm talking to my subjects and then I go to say something and she like leans in and is like, and I'm like, oh wait, you're right. You know what? Yeah. And then I say something to the subjects. That's right. That's what's going on here.
Or like it's like she kicks his leg under the table and then he just like immediately like changes his entire demeanor and like does the right thing. Like, yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
I put
the
too
hat
much
to-
thought into this game, but it's okay.
I don't know.
Never, no such thing.
Himbo Track says, "No think, brain empty. This is what we're here for."
I love Himbo Tarak.
I like business Tarak.
I like-
business
We
Tarak.
need-
Business Tarak is the worst businessman. Like all he does is lose
It's
money.
the
and
best.
It's great.
But he's so
Business
lovable
Tarak
that
is also
NPCs
Himbo
will like him.
Tarak.
We need a deck of cards that's just all of the different Taraks.
I would love just Tarak
A tarot deck
in
of
different
Tarak.
outfits, where it's like, yes, business Tarak. Like how like some people will like dress up their dogs in like different little like, oh yeah, this is
Yes, Tarak
Yeah.
is the group's dog.
100%.
There's gonna be like 80 different Tarak theme
Yeah,
songs.
and it's just like, this is feral Tarak, this is business Tarak, this is himbo Tarak, this is normal Tarak.
This
Oh,
is
no, it's
Taylor
like-
Tarak.
It's like a collectible card game.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, is this a merchandising opportunity?
Did we just come up with a game?
We have so
my
many
goodness.
merchandise ideas.
Um,
One day.
Yeah, it's like buying skins in an online game.
That's right.
100%. Oh my goodness, whenever we get to the point where we can make our own
Cameo in
video game,
Fortnite.
our own between the rows, our own the Paper Dungeon video game, we can include a whole just a whole bunch of different skins for the characters, where it's like,
Mhm.
oh, there's formal, there's the entire cast in formal wear. There's a whole bunch of things for Tarak. I'm sure that there's like Tea Party Edward.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
The Paper Dungeon video game would be so scuffed.
Dude, I am so if we have
It would
any
be-
if we have any programmers out there willing to operate for absolutely zero money.
I'm so afraid.
We
You
will
know,
give a lot of
how about
hype.
maybe a cameo in an indie game? If you know any, that would be.
Yeah, if you're
I
an
feel
indie
like
game
that's
producer,
more
We'll give you a lot of
manageable.
hype.
straight up hit us up at contactthepaperdungeon@gmail.com. If you love our show and want to give us a cameo, we won't stop you, unless it's a really question. Like, it will get us in trouble if we do. Like, if it's like a real bad game, like, oh, maybe we'll have to talk about it a little bit. But like most of the time, we're probably good.
Oh my gosh.
I have another Graz'zt question.
Yep.
Okay, so this is it's more DJ question, or okay, question. So, what are thoughts and feelings as far as how Renaya responds to Graz'zt?
I'm gonna let you guys answer that.
Whoa.
I want an answer from you too, DJ.
Yeah, don't you
No,
leave
he's
that.
left the screen.
Oh,
Yeah.
DJ, you better come right back here.
Track doesn't know.
Well, I'm not talking about your character. I'm talking about like you.
You think I care?
Wow.
I think that
okay.
you are completely capable and functionable, and the decisions that you make as your character are yours and yours alone. And I think that you in general do well. I don't think that I have the allotments to be upset about the way that you interact with an NPC.
Well, I'm not asking like
Grant
if it like
is
upsets you or things
furious.
like that. I'm
Grant
asking
is
more
putting
like
his foot down. Grant, no, I'm just kidding.
like what are like your thoughts to it, or things you've noticed, or things like you're wondering, or
I mean, I think I've mentioned before, this was yesterday. I was talking to you about it.
probably.
Look, for those of you watching, we all talk behind the scenes all the time. But
Almost
most of the
daily.
time, it's like
I
Lydia
feel.
and someone else.
Mhm.
I'm always talked to, and it's amazing.
So, one of the things I mentioned was, and this is going to be the case no matter who you are or what character you're playing. It is impossible to fully separate yourself from a character. Can't be done. Like I mentioned, Tarak and I have the same kind of feeling towards people touching us. I hate when people touch me unannounced, for the most part. Like, there's some exceptions, but
Unless it's me.
yeah, I mean, like, if it's someone that I know, and like you walk up and you're like, "Sup, man?" You like pat me on the shoulder.
Or like a good game.
But like even that,
Yeah.
like I don't like it when I don't know that you're coming. Like, not a huge fan of it. Like I think that there's just like Grant. Sometimes when you are playing Edward, I'm like, Grant is so in his own head. I'm not even sure if this is an Edward decision or a Grant
But
decision.
dude, I noticed too. I'm like, the lines between reality and Edward are blurred.
Oh yeah, and like Drew when he plays Cather, sometimes a lot of Cather's like emotional decisions are entirely based on like Drew's preconceived perceptions. And I think it's not a bad thing. This is kind of what I've talked about before about like good metagaming. Metagaming is impossible to avoid. The way to do it is to make it good. I think a lot of Renaya's interactions with Graz'zt are Lydia going, "Oh my god, a hot demon boy." And, like that's how I kind of perceive it, and that's totally okay. Because like for me, it seems confusing to me why Renaya would ever be like okay with demons at all. And this is just like if I was playing Renaya, this is how I'd play her. So it isn't right, wrong, or good or bad. Because like if I was saddled with a demon for 50 years that like forced me to kill people, I wouldn't even care if it was a different type of demon, a higher up demon, a lower down demon. If it includes the word demon in it, I'm probably gonna hate it. Because like that's what I would do if I was in Renaya's situation, is like I hear the word demon and I immediately assume that it's going to poison, corrupt, and kill. just because that's all I would know. But I'm not the one playing Renaya. I am not crazy about hot demon boys. So
Well,
it's like that
that
is my perception of the Renaya and Graz'zt is I look at it and I go, DJ found her weakness. Hot demon boy, there it is. That's the one.
Here's the thing, is that I would agree with you, Aaron, on how this seems out of character, except for things that I know as to why it is in character, which is awesome.
So that's a scary smile from Lydia.
You asked me my perceptions of it.
Once again, it just churns my chest. Oh gosh, it scares me.
Trolleys your tracks.
The whole thing of like, oh yes, behind the scenes Renaya has reasons, and we're all like, what could that be? We're all like, but why? And that makes me uncomfortable. I don't know. Now, I wonder sometimes where it's like, Renaya, in a way, has like defeated that demon that was in her, and like. She just kind of happened. Now again, the demon's not around anymore, and it took a little. It took.
That she beat it.
No.
It took quite a bit of external help, sure, but in a way, I wonder if I wonder if Renaya is like almost desensitized to the extremity of like a demon, because she's been. It's like if somebody grows up around a crazy setting. Then that crazy setting, although it is crazy, it becomes less crazy over time to them. It's more normal.
People who grow up in trauma don't see it as trauma.
Sure, and so if Renaya has been going through this thing, then maybe in a strange way, although I don't think it's completely irrational, maybe she's just like kind of desensitized to the fact that Graz'zt is a demon, and it seems like Graz'zt has a little bit more personality than the last thing she was with. It seemed like the last thing, as far as what I can see, was more like a creature of sorts, or like a very purely
really compare the two,
like black, dark, horrible thing in Renaya's mind. And Graz'zt is kind of like, hey,
sup, I'm a hot demon boy.
It's just a whole lot different. And so I would imagine that in Renaya's experience, she feels like she has just more control in the matter, and she has room to have a true opinion about it. You know what I mean?
I would also like to clarify.
That is also a very fair point.
I would also like to
clarify
clarify on my point. I'm not saying that like I think you're doing a great job. I want you to do that.
No, Aaron, you don't have to explain. You didn't
Aaron.
say anything wrong.
No.
But the thing, Aaron, you do have the point. But the thing is, it's not okay. The fact that he's a hot demon is a bonus. But all I needed was demon.
Oh,
that was all I needed.
I'm fully aware, but this is
demon, I'm in.
This is where I was going with it. I would like to state
Lydia
that there is a clear and definite moment in time where it shifts to being a little bit different, and the little bit means a lot. And I'm going to point out exactly what it is. The exact.
Are we referring to the time when she was laying on the ground?
Is when DJ sends you a picture of what he looks like.
That's actually not true.
Oh my gosh. It is so true.
Now, Lydia, like, playing into it a lot more is true.
Oh
my God. That's what I mean. Renaya herself hasn't changed, but it's like the Lydia, like, hey, is Graz'zt gonna show up today?
Oh yeah, now my obsession with Graz'zt now is because I know what he looks like and I love him.
Is Graz'zt around?
We just need like a fisheye lens.
But no, there has been a shift. There is a moment of a shift with Renaya, and I don't know if you guys know when it is, which is.
I don't know about I just know about the Lydia shift. the
Lydia shift. Yes.
To interact with.
Now I'm curious. When is the shift?
Wait, my guess is the shift was maybe when. I don't know particularly exactly when. Maybe when Graz'zt basically told her she can do what she wants.
I think the shift was after like her third or fourth conversation with the party on what good and evil is, and how every single one of those conversations was different and did not answer the question, and she got sick of it. That's the shift.
Now I have a question for you, Lydia. If we do get the correct answer, would you tell us that it was the correct answer?
Yes.
Oh, I jeez.
So far we don't have the correct answer.
Now there was a shift in Renaya with DJ's point, but that's not the one I'm talking about.
I mean,
in the last episode when he gave her a key to his place.
Nope.
Gave her a key to the apartment.
Before that.
No,
Give
but
you a
I'm
toothbrush
freaking love
on
it.
the nightstand.
Keep the gifts coming.
DJ, blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, so the
okay, you're good then.
So the real hold that Lydia has right now isn't exactly blackmail, but it is like a threat where it's like, I could just go, I could just leave, and where would you be?
That is another aspect of it that makes it different, where the lore drop Nithful that was inside Lydia, she was constantly in fear of taking control, versus Graz'zt, who has stated and hasn't lied, has stated under oath of divine magic that he can't control her. So there is also that point too.
Yeah, there's, and that's what I really like about Graz'zt, is with like having that element of story added to Renaya's story. Is also because I think even in like a past episode, there was one episode where Havel like looks at Renaya and is like, well, what do you want? Like, what do you, Renaya, want? And she literally like had no idea. And so I love the idea of having Graz'zt come in, who is all about getting what you want and is all about doing what you want and that kind of thing. And I think it's gonna be really cool to see that kind of story and see that develop. But then with I was going somewhere else and I got lost. I was thinking about Graz'zt.
You got lost.
Classic.
Oh, man.
His abs just keep going.
Oh, what were we talking about before this?
The gift that keeps on giving.
I'm still trying to figure out when the shift was.
Oh, the shift, right. Oh, so there's been... Nope, it's gone.
That's okay.
Well,
you made a point. You made a point. I'm hijacking. You made a point about Renaya and the whole, like, Graz'zt being like, yeah, well, it's all about, like, I get what I want.
The difference between the Nightfall and Graz'zt.
I did it.
There we go.
Go.
Like, and I love that because they're so different. They're so different, and it's so cool. And then it's like, there's just, it lets me do so much. It's so fun. Anyway, continue.
Okay, good.
Oh, man.
Good work.
Thank you.
I'm trying to extrapolate from the thousands of conversations that we've had about Graz'zt ever since you learned what he looked like.
I think it's more like 10,000.
I'm rounding. What horror mind? There's a couple of, I feel like it's post-death. I feel like the shift is definitely post-death.
Maybe it's just her death. It's probably just her death.
It could be the death.
It could be the death.
But I think...
yeah, you did it. We did it.
Was it correct? Was it the death?
Yeah.
But we still don't know what happened.
I assumed that it would be the like post-death reactions of the party or lack thereof.
Yeah, just nobody cared.
Oh, that definitely.
Okay.
Naya died?
Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Gosh, I know. I can't speak for everybody. I know Edward cared a whole lot. It was just tough because we were in the middle of something. It's so stressful.
You can die with your excuses.
I just feel so. I feel so bad for Renaya.
This is the best part because I think this once again is the like. Is the Edward thing. Like, that's Edward's thing. Because, like, so for
what's
the rest
Edward's
of us,
thing?
Coming up with excuses?
Well, for the rest of us, like, you died and you came back, right? And we are adventurers, we are heroes. Like, it would not be the first time in Tarak's life that he has seen someone killed on the battlefield and they've been resurrected within a minute. Which is okay with the orcs, because they believe that's, like, the revivify spell works because your soul hasn't left the body. They don't use resurrection if it has left, because it is not meant to be here anymore. But, like, revivify is fine. So, like, you were revived, you died, you were brought back up. To Tarak, that's like, okay, death is really sucky, and I hope that nothing really bad happened to you while you were there, but you're alive now, so it's okay. Same thing with Havel. It was very much a like, well, I got her back, so it's okay. Like, everyone has kind of experienced the whole, like, oh, adventuring, it has a potential for death. So, like, sometimes you got to bring him back. That is not the case for Edward. For Edward, it's like, you die, that's terrifying.
That's real bad.
Like, Edward hasn't lived with death every day of his life, like a lot of the rest of the party has.
I feel like this was really explored as well after Havel's recent.
Oh yeah.
On the ship, like, it was as if Edward was, because of how emotional he was about it. It felt like he was totally guiding, like, the group emotionally in a way, which is so weird.
A super emotional response to it.
Exactly. They were all very unique responses, and because of how naive Edward is and how he assumes people feel about it, it will change how he then responds or thinks about it too. Like, he thinks it's affecting everybody in a similar way as him. That's just not the case.
It's so fun with Edward being the youngest,
well,
maturity wise.
Yeah, sure.
And that's not me saying that he's immature, but just the youngest maturity wise is such a fun way of.
So,
he's a little bit immature too.
I have another two things kind of regarding
that's
this,
cool.
Right? Where, like, so the emotional response, especially with, like, death and things, two of the characters are, like, warriors and soldiers that, like, lived on a battlefield for years of their life. Like, having the death of a companion, it's still brutal. But for Cather, this is almost, I don't know enough about Cather's backstory, but this is almost definitely not the first time he's watched someone die.
Oh no,
Certainly not.
By no means. For Tarak and the orcs altogether, that is literally like, you're born. When Tarak was like, I'm actually in the upper age group of, like, living orcs, he's not incorrect. Like, most of them die before they're 30.
There's
like,
not a great life expectancy with the orcs.
It's actually probably more like die before they're 25. So Tarak is honestly in the upper half of the age group of orcs. So, like, death is that's not a surprising thing to him, and because they live such short lives, they have to get over things very quickly. Which Tarak has kind of shown and mentioned a couple of times. But besides that, this is something, I know I said this to Lydia yesterday. It's amazing how many of the things that we talked about yesterday apply. I was talking about Edwards. All right? I'm gonna start saying it. Edward needs to get to the point, and he needs to start getting to it soon, where he cannot use naivety as an excuse.
All right.
You have been with this group for a year. A year is not a long time, but in that year, you have probably experienced more worldly things than 90% of the population. 2 days ago, you watched your friend get stabbed by a high-up Archfey on the Council of Fey.
You know, that's a good point, yeah.
Like, most people don't... That's not like, hi, I'm John the Baker. Yes, my wife just got stabbed by an Archfey. That's not a thing that people deal with.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You can't...
And this is my point. Now,
forever.
To be fair, Edward for a while will continue to be naive about some things. Now, if naivety is not the excuse, then at least an experience is. Because
I'll allow that.
Right. Because how long have we been traveling now?
Like 8 months.
About
like that, 8, 9 months.
So that's a pretty long time.
That's enough time to straight up birth a child.
About a year.
Okay.
About a year of in-game actual date
for the
time.
Orcs, it's enough time to birth 2 children.
Hold on.
No, mine's real quick. So this is one thing I love about like so there's Edward who has like this like naiveness to kind of the like things that are happening and the like the stuff that's happening in like externally, and then Renaya's got all of this like immaturity and naivety to stuff like happening internally and like how like things work in like social situations. Like, I love that. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, that's a good
I'm gonna
thought.
jump in. I'll allow.
No, I had a thing.
Renaya's, because for her, legitimately, the whole emotion thing literally just started like like 4
8
months
months
ago. So like
Fair.
that's a thing. But like for Edward, he's got to start expecting, right? Like he wakes up in the morning, he's like, "What? You think that we're not going to encounter some random thing on the planet that shouldn't exist?"
In Edward's defense, the amount of character growth that has been so subtle yet so
I
evident
agree.
over the last 30 episodes
Mhm.
is a
Dude.
killer.
Now can I make my point?
Go
I
for it.
suppose.
Either way,
You gotta consider this. He's 23. Yeah, he's. I like to think that
10
in
years on my character.
I know in conception of Edward,
Means
he's
nothing.
like he's a child in like a young man's body in a way, like on how he like lives and thinks and experiences things. He essentially yeah exactly. He grew up like isolated on a very proper estate, away from pretty much anything harmful. And so for Edward, even if it has been a year, even interacting with people who have a level of concern for nearly anything is like new to him. Now, to be fair, it has been a year, and I would like to say that I think Edward has in fact
I
gotten
mean,
used
he
to some
has.
things. But there are going to be, like, for example, death, especially in situations like that. There's undoubtedly going to be things that Edward doesn't quite get. And I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I'm never going to let go of that, except for late, down the road.
and
But
I
it's a
will accept
journey.
that.
It's a journey.
I just don't like naivety as an excuse.
Right.
Like,
Grant
in the-
can't walk
in
around
the
saying,
beginning-
well, Edward was naive, so he did. Like, that's fair.
In the
That's fair.
beginning, I'll allow it. But literally the first episode that Tarak and Edward were in together, the Tarak, Edward, and Renai episode, there was a scene where Edward says something stupid, and then Tarak's like, "Now come on, now, blah 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 blah," and you respond with, "I'm not 3 years like I'm not only 3 years old," and then Tarak responds with, "Then stop acting like it."
Oh, I remember
Like
that.
literally
Yeah.
first
Well,
episode, and the fact
early-
that there's a possibility
oh,
that
gosh.
he could still say that, we are like 50 episodes.
Well,
deep.
hold on. Early Edward was awful.
Whiny little
He was
baby.
awful.
Little brat.
Yeah, exactly. He was not stellar, and I played him that way on purpose. I think people hated him for it. I hated him for it. and the whole point was to drive home the point of how absurdly misinformed Edward was at the beginning. And now I think we at least have a version of Edward in relation that is somewhat informed to how the world works and what people think.
Yes.
I also think that Edward's ability to show the kind of wisdom he's accrued will show forth once other characters show that they need Edward. But until that starts happening, I think he's constantly going to doubt himself. And I think that'll
cannot
hold him back.
Wait to break Edward for a second time when you guys go back to Othala.
Oh boy, let's not get onto
Oh.
that topic yet.
Oh no.
It's a
I
little
also,
tough right now.
Just as I have previously, I would like to clarify, I love Edward. He is a great character. I love
Aaron,
how he's played.
that's
I like how
enough.
he
No,
plays. like
I
him.
know,
He's
I know.
Very good.
You're doing
I
a
am
lot of
not-
apologizing today. Maybe we just gotta think
Hi, my name is
about our
Aaron Clark. I also function as
I
the
would
HR
like to say-
department for the Paper Dungeon.
Yes, he does. I would like to say that, Aaron, I love you, and I don't have any
Gross.
ill feelings towards you.
Disgusting.
And everybody, we're all a happy family, just talking about
We
D&D.
clearly have no problems.
Uh.
Relationship.
Aaron is a
But-
tyrant.
but-
Aaron
okay,
is a
but-
tyrant.
I am.
Okay, but we gotta go back because DJ still never answered.
What was
Yeah,
the question?
DJ.
Your like your thoughts and things as far as how Renaya responds to Graz'zt.
Oh, yeah,
Ah.
you got up and left.
I see. Well, from Grotz's perspective, it's interesting because he has the ability and the maybe not the right. The right is probably the wrong word, but he has the ability that he can really just spy on her whenever,
Creepy.
you know, and he has that ability to not per se spend a lot of time with her, but observe her in a lot of different situations.
So he's a stalker.
So
This is Phantom of the Opera vibes here, man.
It really
Yeah, okay.
is.
I mean,
we have
yes.
we have gone over this. This is super phantom.
okay, So it's interesting because he has a desire where he wishes that she was more, that her reactions were almost more grand to some of the things that he's done, especially the more recent things where it's like, hey, I designated a whole place in my palace that is yours, that I tailored towards you. And you didn't really say anything. You're just kind of like, that's really nice, except that I can't do it because I'm tethered to this guy. You know, and that was really the reaction. And he would have loved if it was like, oh my gosh. But he also knows you just well enough to know that you don't really do that with anything. You're a very subtle and stoic person in general, for the most part. And so it's the everlasting struggle of new relationships as you get to know and accept and come to love your different people and all that type of stuff. As how do I react as the DM to how you react to Graz'zt? I love it. It's great. Everything about it's exactly what I want. If I'm gonna put a cake in front of you, I expect you to grab a fork and dig in. Like, let's go. Come on.
So I would like to go back to the statement of very Phantom of the Opera. We have had conversations about this.
That's true.
I remember I was driving in a car with Grant and Drew.
Oh, the good old days.
We were sitting there, and I was like, "Bro, let's listen to this Phantom of the Opera song." I think I found like a group that like did a cover of it that was really good or something.
That was back in May.
That was back a while ago.
It's like at least
and I was
6
sitting
months.
there, and of course we were listening to just random playlists, and we would be like, "Oh my god, this might be like a track song," or "Oh, hey, this might fit like an Edward song." Put on the Phantom of the Opera song, and literally, if you look at like every Phantom of the Opera song, it perfectly fits. Like there are lyrics that exactly explain Graz'zt and Renaya, and it is like,
Do it. Find the line.
Music
those
of
who have
the
seen your
night is
face
great.
draw back in fear. I am the mask you wear. It's me they hear. Like straight up them just looking at Graz'zt being like, "Oh god, we're all scared of you. You're Graz'zt," and Renaya's like, "Bloody thick though." Past the point of no return.
Oh,
like,
that one's great.
The song fits perfectly. Music of the Night.
Music of the Night
Music
is
of
great.
the Night was another one that it was like it was the whole like alluring, like listen to
Like,
my
do
words,
what you
like
want.
don't be afraid, just give in to your desires. Like it is
Gosh.
so funny. and even then like you have Malice, who is the hero
He's the
guy,
good guy.
the guy who shows up to the theater.
Who's like the good.
Yeah, and he
Good
was like her
alter.
like childhood friend or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
Malice.
the whole time is like trying to like get to her and stuff, but at the end,
But
they
she's
reach
like,
this, like
interested in the opera
and at
man.
the very end, when like the main character dies, he like goes to her grave and then sees that the Phantom has left a rose there, and he's like, "Of course!" Like it's so perfect. I just want. We should do a cover of all the Phantom of the Opera songs, and then
As
just
our characters.
just overlay them with Renaya. Well,
The
Lydia cosplaying as both
Prince of
Renaya and
pleasure is
Graz'zt.
dear.
I am both.
Inside your
And then
mind.
we
That's
just
so
mirror
good.
the videos to fit perfect.
Womp 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 womp.
I
Um,
also, as you were saying this, I was just thinking about how you can also compare almost all of the characters in the campaign to characters from Les Mis, where
Empty chairs
like-
at empty tables.
like Cather would either be Jean Valjean or Inspector Javert.
Gadget. Sorry.
Either way, I could see it either way.
Yeah, he really does, because part of him is this like.
He
no,
really does have
law
Javert
is law.
vibes.
Like,
He does have Javert vibes, doesn't he?
and then there's also a part of him that
Look
I
down.
see Valjean
Look
a
down.
little less.
Don't look at them.
But
Me
like
too.
the
I
whole,
think he's
like-
closer to Javert.
Yeah,
For sure.
He's like a nice Javert.
Dude,
And then-
a redeemed slave of sorts that's making
Yeah.
his own path because of
And-
his conviction. It's like
And
very
then
Javert.
Edward is definitely the kid from the Revolution that gets
Oh,
left
totally.
behind, and he's like, empty chairs and empty tables. That's definitely Edward.
Everyone's dead and he's sad. Yeah,
Um,
that's pretty Edward.
oh gosh.
Tarak would. Ooh, who'd Tarak be?
Master of the house.
No. No.
He's just the scumbag.
I think Tarak
man.
honestly might have more Jean Valjean vibes.
I think he might be the-
I think so. I think he'd be Jean Valjean.
He might be the priest in that one
Oh,
thing that he's like, go in
I
peace
saved
or whatever,
your
and he
soul
helps
for God.
he helps him out or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep. Interesting information about the movie. He actually played Valjean in one of the Broadway productions.
Oh, that's cool.
I believe it was either Valjean or Javert, but he was one of the two in the movie.
And then Renaya is I feel like
well,
Renaya
so
is
once again,
She could be Cosette.
So she has the like innocence of Cosette,
but
where
she's
like,
also
"I've
like
seen the
more
outside world."
but she also has like the personality of what's her bucket, the innkeeper's daughter too.
Yeah. You know, her, the one that's really sad and dies.
Yeah.
One that dies.
The one that isn't that
I
Anne
mean,
Hathaway?
she's covered both those bases in campaign.
Anne Hathaway is the mom who dies.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Anne Hathaway would be the Lotta in this situation, but Lotta's not dead.
Lotta's
You
too
guys know about.
cool.
You haven't checked in on her in a while.
Chill,
Well, last we
okay?
knew, she
Chill.
wasn't.
Wait.
That's enough from you.
Wait, DJ, no! I
DJ.
told you that she messages her in the background.
Yo, Lydia,
Yeah.
could you
Uh-huh.
imagine
The next thing. Oh
if,
gosh.
I'm sorry. Yeah, get off this, Grant. I'm talking. Could you imagine if like
Mom?
Malice is like all the gods are supposed to like gather their champions, and he's like, I can't get Renaya right now. She's like in the middle of something. I'll have to go back. He calls up Lotta.
Ev's Lotta.
And then
All of a
and so
sudden,
now
like,
Lotta
it's-
is like caught up in this inner god war.
It's like the
Diamond Crusher
second
just,
Hunger
like,
Games.
goes shooting out of Renaya's hand and just disappears across the sunset.
I wanna comment on this part real quick before I forget about it. But it's going back to DJ. When you said that Graz'zt was expecting a bigger response, that surprised me because that's like the room is actually the most like really meaningful to Renaya, and was probably like the biggest reaction she's had to anything that he's given.
Renaya doesn't
But
react to
she doesn't-
Grazz's things.
That's true. She doesn't.
You just let whatever he's gonna do happen, and then you react to it after he's gone.
Well,
She responded.
well okay,
did
so
respond.
this is the thing. I think Graz'zt is used to like the typical like Valley Girl response.
He's used to people swooning over
where
him.
literally he walks through the door and like hands out a free car, and they're like, oh my god, it's Graz'zt, it's Graz'zt.
He goes in expecting Lydia, and he gets Renaya.
and then he shows up and he's like, sup babe, I got you this house, and you're like, oh that's neat. I live
DJ
2 states away, but thanks. Like that
DJ
really
literally
means a lot
said-
because I've never had a home of my own. And he's like, you're
Oh.
still conscious?
I'm so confused.
DJ literally said, like, as Graz'zt, he basically said, the entire reason I exist is so that I get what I want. That is my divine right. But for some reason, I can't have you.
It's
It was
why
amazing.
he's
It was an
so
amazing line.
interested.
But like the unattainable, right? It's the bad boy. It's he. You know what I
and
mean?
Not to mention
Know what
that
I'm
could
saying?
also be a super like misleading line as well. So like if Graz'zt did ever have the intention of being like a secretly a scumbag this whole time,
Because that's
that is
possible. A
such a,
Hans,
like-
a Hans from Frozen.
well, it's such a misleading line because it super makes you feel like potentially more important. Like because it's like, oh my god, I am so special that not even the Prince of Pleasure can have me. So it's like a serious ego boost too.
Maybe I could end the world.
Yeah, it's like, oh, maybe I am that important. Oh.
I mean, legitimately, I actually think, in all seriousness, that has happened.
Oh yeah, Graz'zt
And-
100%. One of his biggest. He has like a checklist of like goals with Renaya. He's like, yo, first and foremost, I need her to understand just how important she actually is. Whether
Maybe
that's
even a
good or
little bit
bad,
more
it
so.
doesn't matter. As long as she realizes that literally the fate of the world could depend on her. It's definitely
No
been
pressure.
on his list. Yeah, no pressure.
Renaya's having a time.
Renaya's enjoying the attention.
Renaya's doing great. You know, gosh. Edward's so concerned. He has no clue what's happening, like with this whole deal.
I have so many plans.
I know.
I want
I do
Tarak
too.
to have a sit-down dad talk with Graz'zt.
I want it too. That's
What are your
we're
intentions
so
with my daughter?
golden.
Yeah,
Like Tarak has his sword across his lap.
Yeah, no, he opens the door and his sword is unsheathed and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're Graz'zt, right? You must be the one dating my daughter. Come on, I have a seat on the couch. I'm just sharpening the sword."
What's the scene where it's with
Bailey
Will
and Bev's
Smith? I
dad?
think it's like bad boys or like bad guys or whatever it is. And like
Bad dads.
no,
I don't.
no, it has
Red
Will Smith
Dead
and some other
Redemption.
and this other black dude, and this kid shows up that's supposed to be dating. He's supposed to be taking their daughter/niece on a date, and they both show up and they just like start interrogating him at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're literally like waving a gun in his face and everything like this as they're interrogating him. It's so yeah, that'd be track.
Yeah, except I feel like his would be a lot more veiled until he was in the house.
Yeah.
Like
Or
it's
it's
not
like the
at
scene
the
where,
door.
like,
He's like super nice. I'm like, come on, yeah, my wife just finished baking desserts. Do you want any? Sit right down over there. And he sits down like on the opposite opposing because there's a single chair and then an absolute throne. And then the kid sits in the chair and Tarak sits in the throne, and it is immediate vibe train where it's like, hey, yeah, sit down, have a bite to eat, a little bit to drink. Of course, nothing alcoholic. He sits down, and he's like, so you're taking my daughter to the prom.
It's as soon as the wife like walks away.
And it's just the sword lays across the lap, and I want it so bad for like Graz'zt and Tarak, because Graz'zt right now, Tarak doesn't have any harsh feelings towards Graz'zt. He is aware that demons have the tendency to be very conniving, and Renaya is incredibly gullible.
You sound like a
Facts.
father explaining like a high school boy
Exactly.
situation. Like,
and basically, I literally want to open it up with like especially if Renaya was like, yo, why do you want to talk to Graz'zt? Or Graz'zt was like, why do you want to talk to me? Or like, what's the point of this conversation? Trek just being like, well, I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to explain a few things. I'm probably going to threaten you throughout the conversation. And then at the end, we're going to come to an understanding, and then we won't have to have this conversation ever again. That's just basically how I want it to go. Because Tarak is totally the type of person to threaten a demon.
he already
100%.
has.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
But like face to face, it's a lot different to like. It's like that's like saying, "Oh, I'm totally gonna beat this guy up tomorrow." While
Like
he's
over
not
Xbox
there.
Live.
This was never how I expected Renaya's story to go, but I love that it has taken this direction so much. I have too much
That's
fun
what I
with
want.
it.
I've got a lot of sick threats just prepped and ready. I've got a thing that will be unveiled when it is most necessary and apparent, that relates to the like Tarak killing the Dracolich, and I think that's going to be a sick gosh dang drop. And it's just a thing that I want really bad, because like as I said, Tarak doesn't even know that you're like talking to Graz'zt. The most that Tarak has seen Graz'zt is like he showed up and lifted that boulder one time.
Right. There's that.
But that was more like weird and shocking than like, oh, like
Concerning.
I don't even know if he has made the correlation that like you talk to him relatively regularly.
Oh, because Renaya keeps it hidden.
Yeah, 100%. Where Tarak's just like,
Renaya
oh,
doesn't let you guys know about that because she's
Yeah.
like, oh, you guys are gonna
Tarak,
do
all
something,
that
aren't
Tarak
you?
knows is like, yeah, at one point in time you're like, yeah, Graz'zt is in my head, and he's like, are you okay with that? And you're like, well, I mean, there's nothing I can really do about it. And he's like, well, I'll kill him. I'll do it if you want me to. And you're like, no, let's not go that far. And that's the last that like Tarak has like really known about it. So for all he knows, like maybe it's still in your head. Maybe he's left your head. Like you've disappeared a couple of times and been like, yeah, I was at like a demon palace, and he's like, and you're like, okay with this? Like, I don't know, that seems a bit sketchy. So right now it's like there's kind of a negative connotation for Tarak with Graz'zt, where it's like, I don't know, because like some of these things most people would super not be okay with. But you seem, it's hard to tell if you're like actually okay or if he's like mind controlling you sometimes. For Tarak, where he's like, I don't want to assume that you're like being mind controlled, but like, I don't know, you disappear for 6 days, you get back and you're like a little upset about it. But like at the same time, he got you a cool dress. And it's like, I feel like these two things don't equate. Like just to Tarak. But yeah, so I would love Tarak to have a conversation with Graz'zt. I think it would be hilarious, but also really intense.
There's a lot of really exciting, there's a lot of really exciting, mysterious, like, reveals that could happen in the next 10 episodes. I have a feeling that fireworks are going to start happening, like, pretty soon. You know what I'm saying. Like, I feel like stuff is about to happen, and we're going to figure some stuff out, and it's going to be a terrifying, beautiful display of horror and fun.
Yeah.
And you could join us on Monday evenings at 7 p.m. If you already know when we stream. If you're watching this, you already know.
Someone might be new. We've got.
Hey, if you're new, click that subscribe button, baby. Join us on stream Monday evening, 7 p.m. CST.
Also follow us on Discord, Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Lydia's
we got merch,
store.
baby. We got
her
Patreon.
Store, but
you can sign up make an account.
Oh, you can. Sick.
Because that's how you order stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
sign up, make an account, buy your stuff.
We got a lot of stuff.
Do y'all have more topics to go over? Talk about? Anything crazy?
We could talk forever.
I got what I came for, so.
I got what I came for as well.
DJ?
I always get what I come for.
That's
kind of scary.
Was
but
that
okay.
Graz'zt? Was that Graz'zt or DJ? And on that note.
But yeah, on that note, I mean, I don't have anything else to cover. So, as we said just like moments ago, follow our stuff. Check us out. Monday nights. That's when we also stream on Thursdays, as you are here sometime in the afternoon, Central Standard Time. So it could be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, depending on what time works best for me and the rest of the people who can show up. Who knows what we'll do? Sometimes we play D&D. Sometimes we hang out and talk. If it's just a solo or a duo stream, who knows? We might draw something or do something else crazy. We have a very talented cast. We also give a lot of spoilers on this show and things that no one else knows about.
Yeah.
So thank you all for stopping by. Also, if YouTube and Spotify hear this or see this,
or Apple Podcasts, just podcasts in general.
Actually, podcasts, yeah. Podcast listeners. Podbean.
Podcast.
This is normally Grant's job, but we all love you. Thank you for watching us. Your participation means a lot. Faster than you can dash dang.
Mute him right now. Mute him right now.
Thank you for joining us. All I have left to say, this is the second week in a row that this has happened. Good luck and Godspeed. We will see everyone next time. Thank you, Dungeoneers. It has been an absolute blast. I have lost the ending screen.
It's okay, you can find it.
Hold on.
You can do it. Believe.
Okay. Let us say goodbye for real this time. Goodbye, everybody.